My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
I am the Reaper, roams pain and its breath. The instrument of death, the scourge of its crest. With each strike of my blade, I forge fate's decree. Avenge the fallen, set my soul free.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
Sweet.
Ooh.
Was that AI music?
Oh yeah, but I wrote it though.
Okay. I was gonna say it was a really cool lyrics. Usually the AI music does really stupid ones. So
the problem is when people put it in the inspired part of it, it puts out crap. That's why I write it myself, and then they just do the music.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Well, how are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just redropping the link in a place for people to watch it. But this is one I've been excited to do for a little while. Especially ever since the shitty sequel came out.
That was the longest video I ever made, was a review of the sequel.
I didn't even watch it. I just listened to people talk about it, and I was like, it seems like there's no reason for me to actually watch this movie because it's basically the same movie.
Okay, we're gonna do it here one day.
Yeah. But hold on, let me just drop this here. Okay. But yeah, so I just want to say, hey, chat, we see you. We're just waiting on we are waiting on one guest, but we do have one that's available to us. Dark Hour taking notes on the better use of AI. Yes, I am taking it better because I've had to rewrite the lyric. Now that I know there's a way to, just force it to, do good shit, I'm going to use that.
If you like that song, you can check out my channel for almost over 100 more songs I did.
I'm just going to have you do it from now on. I'm going to be like, hey, I need a kick-ass AI song.
Yeah, I'll do it.
But, I think that we've gone too far into the AI without bringing in somebody that I don't think he's an AI. I know that little Platoon, I believe, is an AI, but I think Random's an actual person.
That's what an AI would actually say, that he's not an AI.
Yeah. So I've streamed with this guy, I don't know how many times at this point, on multiple people's channels, whether it be on Little Platoon's channel. I've streamed with him over an open bar, and we've been in discussion for a little while to get him on this channel, and it just kept falling apart. But I finally got him in the most random possible way. That's Random Film Talk.
Hello, gentlemen, and thank you for the invite. It's good to finally be here, and I don't think I'm an AI, at least not yet, but then maybe that's exactly what an AI would say.
That is he an AI?
I make that joke about all British YouTubers that don't show their face. They're all AI, all of them. They're not real. There's no such thing.
The reason why I don't show my face is simply because I don't have a webcam and I can't be bothered to buy one. And then the whole Kronk meme thing just kind of became a thing. So now it's at the point where should I change it? Probably not.
Nope. I started on webcam, so whenever I go with just the avatar, people think something's wrong. Sometimes I just don't want to go on cam. It's but yeah, it's good to finally have you on the show. It's been far too long. I think you and me have probably streamed together at least 10 times, and
it's got to be somewhere around that.
Yeah. And it's fun. People are starting to trickle in now. But, so I guess we'll just, like I said, whenever Platoon gets here, we'll just kind of pop him in. But let's see who's in the chat. T-Gun, got Rachel Percy. She's a staple of the chat. Jamalama's in there. Daniel B, another staple of the chat. It's good to see you all. But yeah, so we usually around here, we start with our first time or our best memory, our oldest memory of this movie. And seeing as how you are the guest of honor right now, I'll yield to you, Random. What was the first time you saw it, or at least the first time you remember seeing it?
I would have been because here in the UK, it's a 15 plus rated movie. And it was definitely one of the first 15 rated movies that I saw. I don't think I was actually 15 at the time, because my parents were pretty strict on that. And then I just got to a certain age of 14, 15, and they were just like, fuck it, we can't control him. He's going to watch Predator. He's going to watch Predator. He's going to watch Alien. He's going to watch The Terminator. We can't stop him. So I would have probably been maybe about 14 or 15 when I watched it. And the film came out in 2000, so that would have been after, I had seen things like The Lord of the Rings. But this is something that I guess we'll get to when we start talking about certain shots in the film, is that the film really does not look dated at all.
No.
It's the kind of film that you can just watch and be like, well, this is just what it is. It doesn't look like a movie that came out in the year 2000. I mean, yeah, specific memory from when I first watched it, I couldn't tell you. It was quite a long time ago, but it's a really good movie that I do keep going back to. It's from that era of back when I guess Ridley Scott was able to make really good movies rather than just really well presented movies.
Yes, so that's actually what I named the show, was when Ridley Scott could direct. That was the tagline I decided to go with. Yeah, he definitely this is probably his last good, like truly good movie.
I mean, he made one a couple of years ago. I mean, it was probably longer now. It depends on COVID might be warping my perception of time, but he made one called The Last Duel, which I thought was excellent. Either of you guys familiar with that one?
Yeah, that was one where the woman accused like Matt Damon or Adam Driver of sexual assault, something like that.
That one, yes.
Okay.
The Martian, I forgot. The Martian was pretty good too.
Oh, also The Martian is good as well. But
I always forget that that's a Ridley Scott film because it's not like it's not done like a lot of his other ones.
I thought you were making a joke. I didn't know he did that.
No. I guess I reminded me that one is a bit different than his usual style. So I always kind of slips my mind that one was him. But The Last Duel, I'll have to check that out. If I've never heard of it.
Would definitely recommend it because it was written by and starring Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, who of course did. Why am I blanking on the name? What's it called? The
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. Yeah. It was. I'm just blanking on the name there. And they're both in it. It's got Adam Driver in a leading role, and he's fantastic. And again, the direction, the way that the story is kind of structured, how much of that's down to Ridley Scott, like difficult to say. But the narrative structure of the film is something that I thought was very, very interesting because it kind of plays with subjective perspectives, and you see the same events play out from the three different perspectives. So, cool. Very interesting movie.
But I'll have to check that out. But I mean, as much as I like to talk about that right now, we do have Gladiator to get to. We got to get this pesky Gladiator out of the way. But Joe, I guess, what is your oldest memory with the movie?
Oh, I have a very good core memory of it. I walked downstairs as my dad was watching it. It was a scene where Maximus put the two swords in the guy with the pig head and chopped his head off, and I turned around and ran upstairs. I was not mentally prepared for that.
That is so. It's a fairly violent film. Right from the onset, you get the tone right off the bat. It's they don't play around with it. Right? That opening battle has some serious imagery in terms of how they did it, and it's that's honestly probably the smartest thing they could have did in the beginning is not play around with this. Oh, we're gonna do. You're not going to see blood and guts and people getting stabbed in the face. Like you're going to see that right off the bat. So
yeah.
The film kind of needs that though, because it kind of straddles the line between it never feels excessive. It's not like overly violent, in the way that like it could easily have been, if it was made now. But it also doesn't shy away from just how violent. Obviously, it's a film about a gladiator fighting in the arena. It's going to involve him killing people. And it's set during, Roman Empire. It was a violent time. And if you try and sanitize that, then the story is not going to work, especially with the whole, of course, what happens to his wife and child. If that was not as brutal as it was, even though it happened off screen.
No, they explain it in pretty gruesome detail. So
I don't know. Well, I have a comment about that. We'll get to that part. Though.
I mean, I think that's one of those leaving it up to your imagination made it even worse for most people. But we'll get to that. As for me, I can't recall the first time I saw it. It's not one of those movies I go back and watch too often because it is fairly long. Even the theatrical cut is it's over 2.5 hours long. So like you need to carve out a decent amount of time in the day to watch this. And but when I do, I'm always kind of a little shocked at the end. It's like, the way it flows really well. It doesn't feel like 2.5, almost 3 hours in the instance of the extended cut. But the ending is just, and I'll talk about it more later, but the ending was just so perfect. And that's the thing that always stood out to me is like, I didn't feel I needed to watch it again. after the first time I saw it. I was just like, that was a great ending, and I feel fulfilled from this film. And rewatching it just yesterday, because I usually, if I'm not the one doing the narration, I wait as long as I can because I don't have to make notes. But I had that same feeling again. So it stuck with me over the years. I still felt the same way I did the first time I saw it when I was like, I don't know, 13, 14. I think I was like a freshman in high school around when because I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on probably VHS at the time because DVDs were still pretty new.
Same for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing though, it looks so much better now than years ago because like obviously VHS had transference issues. It didn't look as good. Seeing it in, I don't think it was 4K that I was watching, but it was definitely at least HD, and it just looks so good. The cinematography in this film is like amazing. I don't know who the cinematographer was, but that guy, if he didn't win an Oscar back then, he deserved it.
Yeah, I'm just going to check because I believe Ridley Scott typically works with similar people.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who uses a lot of the same people in his crews.
Okay, yeah, so this was actually apparently his first film working with John Matheson, but then he worked with him a whole bunch after Gladiator.
Yeah, it just looks, every scene, the way it's shot is just so beautifully done. When they do the pan shots, every set piece just looks so good. I almost kind of like, I'm glad that we're doing it in stills because we'll get a chance to really look at some of it. But
yeah, and it's one of those movies as well that when you're watching it, it's the same era as the Lord of the Rings. Like particularly the first Lord of the Rings came out like the following year, and it was kind of forced by necessity to like blend different filmmaking effects in order to give you, show you what Rome looks like. So there's going to be some things in there that are miniatures. Some things are going to be like backdrop, like painting, that kind of thing. Some of it are going to be like CGI set extensions, or CGI crowds, that kind of thing. And you just blend it all together, and you can't really tell because it never focuses on it.
There's only one scene where I could really tell the CGI. It's the very first one, and I don't want to hold up too much till we get to the slides and stuff. But it's the very first time he sees the Colosseum. You could tell the birds were CG'd in. That's like the one time I was able to notice it. But that's such a minor thing. I can understand them doing that because trying to get it's hard to get most animals to do what you want, but birds fly in random directions whenever they go. So.
Well, so depending on the shot, it could be that it was a miniature that they blew up, as in scaled it up, and then added CG birds to make it look bigger. That's possible.
Yeah. And I just want to put, I highlighted it, but apparently the Oscars finally added a stuntman category. I mean, it's about time. Those guys do a shit ton for the movies.
So I mean, the Oscars has been a joke for a while now, but that is the first thing that I've heard from the Oscars in the last decade, and be like, that is such a good idea. Why have you not already done this? I was amazed that they didn't do this was it 2015 when Fury Road came out? Like that was that movie. Obviously, the stunts in it are ridiculous, but it also won 6 Oscars, so it was a big hitter in the award season, and that wasn't enough. So
yeah, they really need to start doing stuff and make the Oscars mean like what they did back when Gladiator won them and Lord of the Rings, like you mentioned. Like back then, it mattered. Now they need to start definitely. Hey, Mr. Brown, what's up? They really need to start doing like a this might be a good step in that direction to acknowledge people that are very important to the process and never get their just dues.
Well, isn't this because of the Ryan Gosling movie that came out?
Wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah,
the Fall Guy, right?
Yeah,
Fall Guy. That's what it was. Yeah, he mentioned on the red carpet that there should be an Oscar for stunt people. But
yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
Stuntmen have been campaigning for it for a while. It could be that it has only just recently become a bit more mainstream, but again, I thought that Fury Road was going to be that moment, but it wasn't. So,
yeah. Well, that being said, why don't we get into this? I feel the audience is it's still trickling in, but I think they're here to hear about Gladiator and not Fall Guys. So let's. So go ahead, Joe.
Should I press the button? All right.
So just show on stream for the slides.
Okay.
And, Still training them. Training them up, guys.
Everyone close your eyes for a second. There we go. We open with a beautiful title screen, Gladiator, And we got some opening text right here. At the height of its power, the Roman Empire was vast, stretching far from the deserts of Africa to the borders of northern England. Over 1/4 of the world's population lived and died under the rule of the Caesars. We have, in the winter of 180 AD, Emperor Marcus Aurelius' 12-year campaign against the barbarian tribes of Germania was drawn to an end. Just one final stronghold stands in the way of the Roman victory and the promise of peace throughout the empire. And I don't understand how that fight lasted as long as it did, because it's not like the Germanic people have any artillery or anything like that.
Terrain is really the answer to that question. Well, yeah, it's you got to remember, even with artillery, trying to get artillery through wooded areas and mountains and stuff is not easy. So that's really, battles and shit lasted longer in that time because getting stuff to them took forever.
Right, so we open up here with Maximus mentally preparing for the battle as he goes to his happy place. He's always thinking about was it barley fields? I think he has. He has a lot of crops.
All I could think when I saw this opening was
Rebel Moon.
Yes, that's all I could think about.
No!
I was like, I've been ruined for wheat for the rest of my life. Not to mention the fact that Jaimin Hansu is in this movie as well.
Yes.
I was like, no, wheat and Jaimin.
So then we cut to Maximus on the battlefield, and these costumes are absolutely beautiful. And it's amazing that the budget was like a third of what the new one is, and everything is just practical effects and gorgeous.
And you got Dumbledore here.
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius. What they were called Caesars back then, right?
So Caesar just kind of became a catch-all term after the first one. Obviously, the first one, it was his actual name.
Oh, okay.
And then it just became, they all became, like, I forget, I don't remember the exact order it went in, but the second one was basically, I am the new Caesar, and then it just became, okay,
everyone else is Caesar.
Everyone is Caesar now.
So we have Maximus walking through the armies, and I really love this because, of course, everyone smiles at him, acknowledges him, gives him the respect, and it's a good parallel later on to Commodus's character. So as they're preparing for the battle, the Germans, in usual German negotiation skills, decide to release a Roman hostage that they took, but without his head.
Yeah, so
they gave the horse back too.
Yeah, but definitely the you were about to say something random.
I was just going to say this whole intro sequence it's really, really, really efficiently done because it introduces you to the character of Maximus and the relationship that he has with his soldiers, which is very important later in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it does that while giving you the logistics of the battle, like what they're doing, who's going to be where, who's doing what, and why. And the battle itself is relatively inconsequential as far as the rest of the movie goes, because it's the end of his campaign, and then the actual story kind of starts once the battle is done. But they still use the battle, like the spectacle of having like a battle in the opening 10 minutes of the movie. They use that to focus on the character of Maximus, which a lot of films would not do that. But this film knows that it needs to focus hard on that character.
Absolutely. And if you, like you were saying, if they did this movie today, the on-the-nose dialogue would be ridiculous, I bet. So
it would definitely. I mean, they would. There's a lot of subtlety to almost every character, except for probably Commodus. He's pretty on the nose most of the time.
Yes.
But most of the characters are pretty subtle, and I didn't see the second one, but I wouldn't be shocked if they had to spell out everything for everybody.
We're watching the second one after this.
Yeah, you need to watch, or if you don't watch the second one, watch Little Platoon's video on the second one.
Okay.
Because he goes into it, and I mean the main difference that I would say is, even though the films are narratively very similar, is the evil twin emperors in the second one. They're just mustache twirling, insane, evil bad guys who do bad things because they are evil.
I thought that was Ed Sheeran at first. It wasn't, but it was like, is this Ed Sheeran's first Hollywood role or something?
I'm pretty certain that Ed Sheeran played like half of the Weasley family in Harry Potter. So
yeah, pretty much. So as they're preparing for battle, Maximus decides to go with his cavalry troops to the other end of the battle to outflank them. And he says one of the most iconic lines, "On my command, unleash hell." and then it's kind of hard to see, but you see a little arrow in the distance of it.
Yeah, it's like it's like the warning arrow. They send like one first to be like, "Do you really want this shit?"
Yes.
Like it was basically like a flare. That's kind of how they would do it back then. Like if like, look, we have fire and we can fire it. We can hit you from all the way over here.
Barbarians like, oh, they harness the sun. Now we have a battle scene here. It does have audio, so let me just click this right here. I'm gonna try to say this as non-sexual as humanly possible, because it does play in later on, and especially Dark Hour. As a martial artist, you would understand this. Maximus is actually pretty good on his back.
Oh yes, I mean fighting off your back is one of the hardest things you can do because it is funny though, because you did mention how did this battle last this long. I forgot to say this. It's easy to forget, but the German tribes eventually did sack Rome.
How?
Sheer numbers, the internal political squabbles,
ridiculous
stuff like that. I think it was specifically, if I recall correctly, that's where the term vandalism comes from. I think it was the Vandals who finally got through. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's where the term vandalism comes from.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I had no idea though. All right, so we have just a few more shots from the battle scene that I want to put into it. Just this guy getting just harpooned with artillery and stuntman on fire and everything. So just really beautiful practical effects. Everything. I mean,
yeah. So just looked it up. Yeah. So it was the Vandals in 455 AD were the ones that finally broke through, and that's where the term vandalism comes from.
Huh. That's really
okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even know, like, apparently Commodus was actually a gladiator too, as he held
he was, but
grain of salt. I'm looking at the internet.
Yeah, so and I'm sure I'm random. I wouldn't be shocked if you have some of this in your notes. He was basically like the first pro wrestler. He would essentially like go in and do like fixed fights with like fixed outcomes and stuff.
Kind of like this.
Yeah, I didn't know that. The historical like backdrop, I find like Rome pretty interesting, but it's not. I'm not particularly into history, so like the historical accuracy and the real life analogs of this is not something that I'm very aware of. But no, I didn't know that. That's quite funny.
He would basically a lot of the senators and stuff. So I know this about Commodus because I looked it up like a long time ago from when I was watching this movie, because I was like, I know he's a real person, but like, how did he actually die? It was nothing like this. It was, but he would basically, he was so enamored with gladiatorial combat that he wanted to be a gladiator, but he's the emperor. They're not gonna fucking let him go and fight to the death. So he would essentially either pay off existing gladiators that were, either like legendary to lose to him and stuff, or they would bring in essentially kind of what happens at the end of the movie. I'm not going to go I don't want to jump too far, but like people who were so fucked up they were going to lose.
I'm sorry, lose back then was die, right?
No, you could lose a gladiatorial match and survive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of money. Let me beat you.
They typically, it kind of became a thing in movies, possibly starting with this movie. I honestly am not sure where it began, but the idea that like all gladiatorial combat was a fight to the death, that just wasn't the case. It was maybe like 1 in 10 of them would end with someone dying, because if you're the guy that owns the gladiators, why would you want that?
Well, not only that, this was big business for, Rome. People paid for this stuff, so like you can't kill off your roster. It's like that would be like if every time someone got tackled in the NFL, they're like, you're out of the game for the rest of the game. Like no one's gonna watch it after a while. And,
good point.
Yeah, and also on top of that, like they didn't wear like really heavy armor, but they did wear armor. So they could often tank some blows. It was just all I'm thinking though. And the more I spoke about Commodus, I'm thinking of the scene from History of the World Part 1, where he gets slashed at and he's like, I'm fighting with cardboard. I can only imagine like that was what really was going on with the guys that Commodus was fighting.
I was like, I'm bleeding. What's going on? So Maximus has claimed victory in this, and then we cut over to, ironically, Commodus and his sister Lucretia.
There's something I wanted to mention just about that battle scene as a whole. I just think it is so. There's probably 100 video essays on this topic, but I'm kind of tempted to make one myself because the whole pacing of the battle is communicated with, and the tone and all of that is communicated entirely with music. The only dialogue that you get is right at the start when people are saying, fire catapults, ready, aim, that kind of thing. The last bit of
stuff like that.
Yeah, like the last bit of actual dialogue that you get before the battle is when Maximus says, what we do in life echoes in eternity. And then you just have, it's like 6 or 7 minutes long. And it's just the music like going through all these different leitmotifs that it's then going to introduce or reincorporate later in the movie. And it just kind of dumps them all on you right at the beginning during this battle sequence. I think it's so good. And like, if you watch this scene on mute, like try doing that. And that just shows you the power of the music in this scene.
Yeah,
the score is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to find something about this movie that doesn't absolutely work. But then
I mean, I can't. I wouldn't be. I'd be hard pressed to find something that I really hate about this movie, or just dislike. I would even say.
So then we cut over to Commodus and his sister that are arriving at the battlefield. I don't really know why she's showing up, though. Wouldn't that be kind of a bad idea?
Well, they just travel. Basically, the way I've always just assumed it is Commodus like basically won't go anywhere without her. That's kind of the. Well, I mean, he's they added this. Now historically there was incest in royal families. I mean that dates back to like Caligula, but nowhere in the historical actual Commodus was there any notes about him actually boning his sister. There wasn't anything like they had any children together or anything like. So I think this was just that whole aspect was just added to make him seem more deranged. Like that's my guess.
And it really works well for tension as well because they just ratchet it up like a couple of times in like the latter half of the film, and I think it works really well narratively, regardless of whether it's accurate.
We do have a super chat before we move on from some dude named the Uninspired Reviewer for 2 fake monies.
Again?
Yeah, this guy, he just won't leave me alone. Would you rather live in peak Roman or Greek Empire? I guess I could turn that into a poll, I guess, but I'm sure people already seem to have answered it in the chat. But how about you guys? Would you rather live in like the peak Greek city states or like the true Roman Empire era?
Random, you want to go first?
It's difficult to answer because I don't know a huge amount about Greece. I'm actually going to Greece next month, so maybe my opinion will change after that. So for now, I would say peak. If it's peak, then I would go Roman. If it's not peak, maybe Greek, because it seems like Roman Empire when it's not doing too well would not be a nice place to be.
Greece wasn't a particularly great spot to live either. It was, the Persians tried to kill them multiple times. The Turks eventually just all slaughtered them. I would say Roman though, because if you were in good in Rome, you were, and I mean like true, like in Rome proper, you were pretty far away from most of that. It was like a lot of times the battles would roll up onto Greek shores, whereas Rome was a lot of times the battles were way further away. And that's how when I think of like where I would want to live, I want to stay as far away from the wars as possible. That's how I would look at it.
Well, I know Rome had flushing toilets, so I'd be okay over there. And I also remember that a history teacher told me if you were a Roman citizen, why citizenship back then was so important, because let's say I was out and about and I got robbed and I told the Roman government about it, they would send a legion of troops over to where I got robbed and murder everything within like a 10-mile radius.
So that's actually wait, I'm just going to point it out. That's actually a negative as to why I wouldn't want to live there.
Why?
I was going to say that's abusable. No, that's abusable. That's very abusable.
I don't know about you guys. I'm kind of cool with that.
I'd be okay. You're cool with it if you're the accuser. What if you're the accused? Like if you're just an innocent bystander, you're just like at the the store, and They're like, oh, someone stole something in this area. We're gonna kill 97 people.
They would crucify them first for information, and then decide.
Yes, you'd be the crucified.
I'm not the government. I'm just a citizen.
Yes, you're a citizen, and you're being crucified because you may have information.
The chat will agree with me. Thank you.
I will say this about Rome, though. Not only it did have obviously better technology for the most part, it was much more masculine than Greece. So if you're more into like that aspect, it definitely just by their the way they live their lives was like you didn't have to. In Greece, it was very much you had to have like a young boy that you brought around with you if you were if you were an affluent citizen. You had a young boy that just hung around with you for some reason.
Yeah, we're just friends.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Maximus retrieving his sword from the tree, and then we get I forgot his name. Marcus Aurelius, that's what his name is. He congratulates him in the battle, just tells him what a great guy he is, and
10 points to Gryffindor.
He was always the better Dumbledore.
Oh, he definitely came off.
We were joking.
No, yeah, that's the first Dumbledore. Their mistake was hiring a dude who was in his late 80s, thinking he was going to make 8 movies. Like
that's true, yeah. Well, yeah, because the first Harry Potter film came out a year after Gladiator, so he may well have gone straight into filming Harry Potter after doing Gladiator. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't even remember how, because let's see, I'll look it up how old he was when this came out.
I think he looks older than he is, but he looks like he's in his 90s.
He looks old.
Yeah, he looks very old.
So he comes over and congratulates Maximus and everything. And then, of course, Commodus shows up and he says, "Did I miss the battle?" And
he was about 69, 70. So actually, he looks way older than 69.
I would not.
He looks like he's 100 there. That's...
Yeah. So then Commodus, of course, comes up there and congratulates his father on his victory. And he immediately says, no, this is Maximus's victory. Congratulate him. They do try to kind of tease that Commodus wants to be his friend. And Maximus just keeps shoving him off every time.
That's something that I think is quite clever with the introduction of Commodus. You only, prior to this scene, you only have the scene in the horse and cart with his sister. But like he's very... almost mechanical in this early section of the movie, as if he's like trying to suppress his emotions, because you find out later that he is deranged. And it sets up, it goes through like what his expectations are, like what his relationship with his sister is like, what he thinks about his father. And he clearly sees him as like a tool to advance himself. Mm-hmm. Because when he asks his sister, do you think he's really dying? He then immediately starts talking about what he is going to do when his father dies. He doesn't care, like emotionally, about what's going to happen to his father. And he starts making like political, or trying to make political connections, because I believe there's a couple of the senators are here as well, that we see them in a little bit. And he tries to do the same with Maximus. And Maximus is just like, yeah, I mean, hello, but not interested, thank you. Which ends up causing problems.
You're kind of weird, bro. Get away from me.
Why do you smell like your sister?
I think Daniel B sums it up really well right here. Commodus is jealous of everything Maximus has. He wants everyone to love him. So yeah, basically Maximus is what Commodus wants to be. He's not brave. They mentioned that multiple times. He even tries to like redefine what brave is to fit more what his place in the whole thing. He's brave behind a desk, so to say. He's brave to send people to their death, kind of. But like Maximus is a true warrior. He and Commodus loves even like the real one, and this version really looks at warriors as something he wants to be, but he's just not able to do it.
I mean, it takes a lot of balls to go to battle. So
yes, I mean, when death is, it's one thing. I mean, I've fought plenty of times, but it's a completely different thing when odds are you're not going to survive, and even if you do, you probably have infected like holes in your body and shit. Like you're probably still not going to survive, even if you survive the battle.
Oh yeah, if you take a serious injury, or if you get like a particularly deep cut or anything remotely close to, it's your legs coming off at best.
Yeah.
Amputees as far as the eye can see, pretty much back then. So after the battle, they just have like a little feast, and I guess they discuss what life is like after service, and Maximus just keeps talking about his fields, his family. This dude later on, we have to discuss him.
Quintus, I love this character.
Do they explain it in the extended version? I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't
No,
seen
it's
it.
fine. We'll jump around a little bit here. It's not a big deal.
But why does he betrays, and at the end he's like, no.
There is a lot
dangerous
more of him in the extended edition. With just the film on its own, you don't get a huge amount, and he's just there to kind of represent the Roman military, I guess, like the Praetorian Guards. But in the extended version, you do get quite a bit more of him.
And just as we bring in, little Platoon, how you doing today?
Hello, I am good, thank you. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We're not that far into the movie, so you're we slowed it down a little bit because I knew you were coming.
Good. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm late.
We just got past the opening battle, so
Okay, fair enough.
Yep, they're talking about life after service, and isn't this a scene where where Maximus lets them know where he lives?
Well, they should know where he lives anyway. The Romans actually kept really good census records and stuff by, comparatively to everyone else at the time. Obviously, nowadays we keep supposedly better records, but the Romans pretty much knew where their soldiers lived, who lived where in the empire and stuff. So they would have already known that information.
And of course, in this scene, Commodus is trying to smooth up to him as well, and as usual, Maximus just keeps shutting them down every time.
Platoon, can you confirm? Are you hungover or sleep deprived or both?
Oh, I am always sleep deprived, but yeah, it's more than usually sleep deprived today.
Are you hungover though?
I don't get hangovers. No, I just wake up really tired, and that's it.
Oh.
I've been tired since Friday, so it's yeah. I'm catching up. Getting there.
Platoon's like, I've been tired since 2021. Damn it.
Oh, at least.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always hungover.
Man.
So the next day, Maximus is walking around the camp, and we get to see Commodus actually practicing with some of the fellow soldiers. And Maximus,
I think that is a very important scene, because if you don't have that, then the whole ending sequence is like, really? You're going to do that? But this means that you have in the back of your mind that, I mean, he's not Maximus, but he is at the very least physically capable.
Yes.
Before we move on, by the way, we did have a super chat, Platoon, and it was, would you rather live in the peak of, and it looks Greg Owen's here too. He's on camera. I am not. Greg, if you want to stay on camera, you can, but we're all not on camera. So.
Oh, well, honestly, because I got people. I'll do that because I got.
If you want to add your, if you go to settings on the side, you can add your avatar.
No, we should leave him. He's literally a G spot at the moment. We should.
Actually, that's pretty good. So I'll ask both of you guys. We had a super chat earlier from some dude named the Uninspired Reviewer. I'm not sure who that is, but he mentioned, would you rather live in the peak era of the Roman Empire or the Greek city-states? And we pretty much all three of us pretty much agreed Rome for different reasons, but
which Greek city-state are we talking about?
Well, like the I guess like the Sparta, Athens era. I consider that like the Greek city-state.
See, I wouldn't want to be peak Sparta because I don't fancy being whipped through the streets while made to wrestle around naked and then die at the age of 20 in a pointless foreign war. So I'd probably avoid them. But like, I don't know, there's something about the Greeks have always appealed to me more than the Romans. I admire the Romans, but sort of like peak era, I'd kind of say like Alexander's Macedon, but that's kind of got the Sparta problem as well. Athens was okay. Where else was pretty good during that period?
Pretty much the further away from the Levant you were, the better off you were, because the wars would end up on your shores. The city-states that were closer to Persian territory and stuff.
The place that everybody calls Thebes, but is actually pronounced Thebes, I think. I would quite like to have been sort of at the height before Alexander decided to teach it a lesson. It was pretty cool. It's where his father was brought up and taught. And you had, is it Epaminondas who'd sort of developed the sarissa weapon, the really, really stupidly long Macedonian phalanx formation, which is the thing that just wiped out most of the world, which was great. Something about the Greeks I just prefer. I think the Romans would have been way more comfortable so long as you're in the aristocracy and the upper class. Way more mod cons. You've got fucking central heating, underfloor heating. It's still more advanced than Britain is today. I would go with Greeks.
Okay, so we have one vote for probably Greece, I guess we'll go with. And Greg, I guess that just leaves you. What?
See, the problem is I'm not much of a history buff, so I'm probably
It's fine.
uneducated,
Just
but,
do it based on what you know.
Just I've got this romanticized version of Greece with Aristotle and Plato and Epictetus and well, Marcus here, Aurelius and the romanticized philosophical Greek Lyceum. That's where I want to be at. I want to go there, so I'm going to choose Greece just for that reason alone.
Okay.
Okay,
so it was 3-2, much closer than
job description. the symposiarch's job in ancient, like cultured ancient Greek society is the person who, like, you were expected to go to symposiums if you were like a moderately intelligent person to have conversation. You were not allowed to not drink at a symposium. The symposiarch's job was the one because their wine was undiluted, and so it was like pure fucking fermented lethal stuff. The symposiarch's job was to water the wine down for each individual person according to how drunk they already were. So if they weren't drunk enough, no water at all. But if they were a little bit too drunk, more water. So it was a very cultured way of living.
All right, I'll make a poll, but I'm just going to point this at, where was it? I'm not going this deep into this conversation. We will be talking for months because Byzantines were Eastern Romans. So now it's like, would you rather be Roman or Roman at that point? So we're
I like how their answers were very artistic and culture and stuff like that, and mine was just, if I get robbed, they just
they just kill everybody, and then so I'll put up a poll, guys. But I guess we just got out of the main battle, Greg. So that's what we were kind of just talking about.
Nice.
So Maximus is called to Marcus Aurelius's tent, where he informs him that he wants him to be his successor and be the new Caesar of Rome. He wants to take Rome to more of a republic again, and sees Maximus as a moral man, and thinks he's a lot better than his son, and thinks that Maximus could actually unite the Senate. And of course, he doesn't want to at first because he doesn't feel like he's fit for duty in the Roman Senate, but he ultimately accepts it in the end. And then we have a scene here where he's just sitting in his own tent with little figurines that remind him of his wife and son back at home in his giant farm. And then we get Commodus getting the news broken to him that he will not, in fact, be the new Caesar or the heir apparent to his father. And Dumbledore does a great job of explaining to him that, hey, it's my failures as a father, not you, and stuff like that. And Commodus, he completely understands, just understands.
I like that we're calling him Dumbledore now.
I can't pronounce this dude's name. So he decides, okay,
Marcus Aurelius. That's his actual name. I mean,
I'm so afraid I'm going to start.
Richard Harris would also suffice, but no, Dumbledore. I like it.
Going with Dumbledore. So again, he understands his father's decision, gives him a very loving hug, and then Maximus finds out afterwards that Marcus Aurelius Dumbledore is now dead.
The great line sort of in the intervening part where he says, he's kind of distraught, and he says, I've read your books and I've read about all the the virtues that make a good ruler, and I realize I have none of them. Which is a really, really powerful line. It's a really brilliant scene, that actually, that sort of the sins of the father being that, in a way, he's as flawed as his son is. Like, Marcus Aurelius is incredibly far-sighted, and by being so far-sighted, he's neglected the things closest to home. And that's sort of like, it's all a story about the character of the Roman Empire itself. This is Rome at a period of massive expansion, whilst back in the city, things are falling to decay and corruption, kind of mirrored in the story of the father and the son. The father has spent so much time looking to these grand ideals of philosophy and extending his borders. His own son is now falling far short of his own expectations, to the point where he even says to his son, all your failures are my failures as a father, which is not necessarily what you want to hear as a son, because you're still being called a failure. And so he kills him.
Look, you failed, but it wasn't your fault that you failed. You sucked because I sucked, is basically what he said.
Yeah, he's banging his sister. He kind of sucks. The father did a bad job here.
I really like that scene as well, because it's, again, like with the battle scene, it's just so efficiently done, because We already know that, like, Commodus is immoral. We've seen enough of him to have an idea of what kind of person he is. And then the film does something that you usually should never do, but it manages to pull it off by, like, grounding it in father-son drama. Is Commodus just lists off his character traits. But like, the fact that he's doing it, he's saying that, like, I don't have these traits, but I do have these. It communicates that information to the audience, but it also grounds it in his own perspective of himself and what his father's expectations of him were.
Absolutely. So I really like how he is hugging. I like how he's hugging him for a second, and then you hear him. The father starts screaming. It's like, oh, something's actually happening here.
To this day, I mean, like, when I was younger, obviously I didn't have this issue. But as a person who has specialized in choking people for a while now in my life, you should. I always love that. I love it,
not because you're a freak. Like,
no, actually, that was the best. The first time I ever streamed with Platoon, he had no idea what the hell I was talking about when I said that, and he was like, "What? What's going on?"
Listen, I just assume that most streamers, once you let them out into the real world, end up committing sexual assault within the first.
Tickles your pickle, all right.
I've tried to figure out, because it's to choke a person. This is more of a smother, I'm guessing. Like, almost like it was like with a pillow, because it couldn't be.
Now you're not my language. Smothering is great.
Smothering is my least favorite thing to do. I mean,
you couldn't really choke him.
He's just covering, squishing his face until he stops moving, I think, is kind of
killing him until he dies from it.
That's the phonetic way of saying it back then.
But I think that Joaquin Phoenix, like, his acting in this is phenomenal, because he really, I think a lesser writer and a lesser actor would have made Commodus this really, I mean, he is a petulant child, but he sees it in himself, but at the same time, he's like angry that he's angry that he's not living up to his father, and angry that his father even expects that shit from him at all. And so, that scene is great, because it's this self-justification that admits his own faults, but also that he has deluded himself into thinking that these things are actually strengths. And the way he plays it and the way he delivers it walks the line between absolute insanity, like, how could you believe that this is all true, and also just whiny child, where he's like, well, I know it's wrong, but I don't give a shit, and I want the thing anyway. I want my toy, and I don't care that I'm not supposed to have it, and I don't care. And it is it's a fantastic scene. Like, it could have gone overboard really easily, and it's fabulous.
Joaquin Phoenix elevates this movie. That's, like, for sure. Best. I mean, the movie is as a whole excellent, but, like, he is the standout for me, I would say.
Did he get a nomination for this one?
I think he got the award for it.
I believe he won.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. He should have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Maximus is informed that Marcus Aurelius is dead, but he knows something's afoul here. So he starts packing his stuff up there to go to Rome to inform them what's going on here. This dude to the left of him, do you guys know his real life story? You might have seen
we officially lost Platoon. Thank you.
He's back. He's back. Oh, he's back though.
I was just joking. His historically bad British internet
just killed itself, and I think it's back. So, God.
Yeah.
I just checked, by the way, for reference. Joaquin Phoenix was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Russell Crowe won for Best Leading Actor.
I always like to say this, by the way, because, Drinker, obviously, he interviewed Russell Crowe, and many people, not everybody knows, but my name is Russell, and I like to say, my whole life I came up, people would be like, oh, Russell, like Russell Crowe. So it was the first time in my life where I could say I was somewhere first on Drinker's channel. It was the only time I've ever been able to do that. I could be like, he's interviewing Russell Crowe, like that Dark Hour guy who's named Russell. The one time I got to win.
So Maximus realized again that he has to get the hell out of here, go to Rome, inform what's going on. And what's his name? Quintus? His name is?
Yeah.
Quintus, yes.
Yeah, he stops in there with some Praetorian guards.
Praetorian.
But I'm terrible at these things.
It's Praetorian.
Praetorians. Perfect. Yeah. And they capture Maximus and decide we're going to execute him because Commodus dubs it so.
Because so it is written, so it shall be.
That's Commodus's rule.
Or so it is spoken, I guess. There was no actual formal written...
I wouldn't want to have written down either. Kill this dude for no reason. Yep, so of course Maximus escapes and kills the guys, grabs a pair of horses, and makes his way back at home because Quintus doesn't Quintus say that you're children. You'll meet
They
your
will meet you in
family
the
afterlife.
afterlife. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy is apparently the good guy in the end.
So he's just honestly, he's neither good nor bad. He's just kind of he's like neutral. He just works for the government and does what, like, he's being told, by the
Murder this
emperor,
dude's
do
family.
this.
Quintus is there to represent like the character of the state itself. It's like, it's the useful thing you can do with the Praetorian Guard is because they are almost inseparable from the rise and fall of emperors. Ridley Scott quite intelligently in this movie uses them to convey the attitude of the state to its own rulers. So at the moment, it's loyalist. It's come off the back of an emperor who is innately trustworthy. As far as they know, there's no reason to doubt the line of succession, and they're used to doing what they're told. And over the course of the movie, as he sees the character of the ruler change, the duty to the Roman state, the virtue is kind of being awoken in him, just as it's being awoken in the state, just as it's being awoken in Proximo, just as, Maximus basically goes around awakening people or reawakening them to the dream that was Rome. So this is like the early stages of that before it's happened for the Praetorians.
That's the main thing that I think is lost in the theatrical version of the film, because the extended has, I think, at least 3 extra little scenes with Quintus. So it clearly shows it more clearly shows his journey throughout the film and like his shift in allegiance and why. In particular, I'll mention it when we get there, but there's one particular scene where Commodus essentially calls him out, and then he is forced to make a difficult decision, which, in the theatrical version, that's just not there. He's just the leader of the Praetorians who is inspired by Maximus by the end.
Yeah, I really wish I could see in the theatrical, because I think that this was, I don't want to call it a weak point, but I do feel like that it would have been nice to see that strengthening, because when I first saw it, I was like, fuck this guy. I really wanted him to die at the end. Like I felt that he was supposed to be kind of a mini villain. And then I watched it again this week and I was like, okay, no, I do see what they're doing here, that he is neither good nor bad. He is just whatever Caesar says. I got to do that. There's a new Caesar. I got to do it. And it is actually a much better way to go about it, other than, because when I first watched it, because he gives the orders and Maximus is like whatever, the arrows are fine. Like he kind of is a little bit dismissive toward him. And I thought, oh, this is him getting revenge because he's not being taken seriously enough. But then the movie does a great job of just showing that he's like, look, I'm just doing what I got. Like I have a job, and I haven't seen that extended version. So I might go back and watch that, because I would love to see that deepen just a little bit more to make it that much clearer that this guy is just a dude doing his job, but then realizes, oh no, there's more that I should be doing, not just following orders.
If he was a D&D character, he'd be lawful neutral. He'd be like, this is what the law says. I'm just doing it. I don't care really what. That's essentially what it is at this point in the story. He's following, his job title and he evolves as it goes on. I see where you're coming from, Random. It probably could have been better fleshed out. Obviously, in the extended edition, it is. I don't necessarily feel like I missed out on that much of it. I kind of, maybe my mind fills in the blanks a little bit. So interestingly, Ridley Scott has actually said that. So usually when Ridley Scott is kind of the director's cut guy, I don't know if it started with him, but basically all of his movies, he did a director's cut. The extended version of Gladiator, he never branded as a director's cut. He refers to it as his extended cut. And the reason for that is because he does not consider it to be better than the original movie. He just thinks that it is a bunch of extra scenes that give you a little bit more information that is interesting, but definitely not necessary, which is different to like his director's cut for Alien, which I mean, he thinks it's better. I would disagree, but yeah, it's a little bit different with this one.
Yeah, he's just a little bit too cold, I think, is what put me off of him the first time I watched it. Is that when Maximus is like, like they've served together, they obviously know each other very personally, and he's like, take care of my wife and daughter, and the guy's like, yep, sorry, they're gonna die, see ya. And it just, I don't know, the coldness of it made me feel like that there was this dislike, this underlying dislike, that he was happy to see Maximus deposed. But then later on, he suddenly has this, oh wait, I'm following blindly and I shouldn't, and then tells the guys to sheathe your swords and all that. It is a good arc, but this is the one area of the film that I would have liked to have seen just a little bit deepened.
Okay. So afterwards,
in that case, I would definitely recommend the extended, Greg.
Well, if you're looking for on the high seas, that's like the only copy you can find is the extended version of it.
I mean, I just watched it on Paramount Plus because that's where it was, and I happen to have that service because it's cheap as shit.
Yeah, same.
like the cheap, and it shows that it's cheap. They don't even try to hide that they're being cheap as fuck.
I had it
Like
for a
when they made
week,
Halo.
and every commercial was RuPaul's Drag Race, and that was it.
Yeah.
So Maximus is making his way back to Spain. That's why he got 2 horses. He runs one of them to death, and then
Technically not. So I someone's mentioned this in the chat. I'll just bring it up because Waylon Bacifus, who is always in there. Technically, Spain didn't exist at this point, so it's funny that they call him Spaniard.
Well, it's called España, isn't it?
No, at this point, it would have just been like Iberia. So what we know as modern Spain didn't exist until after 2 major kingdoms, Castile and Aragon, merged together. It would have just been random Iberian city-states, basically.
Oh, it's a hell of a distance he travels.
Yeah, or at this point, it also could have been Muslim controlled. I don't know 100%. It could have been Andalusian.
Oh, crazy. Yep. So as he's making his way back home, Praetorian guards.
Praetorian.
Well, I'll get it by the end of the stream. They show up at his house. This is one of the one scenes that I do not like at all. Not because of the act of a child being run down by a horse. It's just that I feel like Commodus' speech later on doesn't really make much sense to me. So yeah, Maximus shows up at home. His slaves are all around, are burnt, and yeah, his family's on the cross. Not a good day for him. And he passes out. I really love the emotional scene of it, though. I can see why Russell Crowe definitely won an Oscar for this. So he passes out and awakens to Juba, who explains to him that they're now slaves now, and they're on a slave cart going to Zucchabar, the Roman province, where they will be fighting in the arena.
This is in North Africa, right? Or am I mistaken?
It must be Africa. It's really like desert.
I'm not familiar enough with it, but I would guess that this is North Africa.
Yeah, what a time back then. You could just pick up a guy on the ground and throw him into slavery. Yep, so yeah.
So these were the names of so it was Hispania, it was the general area, but the city-states were Sitoria, Tarraconensis, and there's a bunch. Some of them I can't, like, some of them I wouldn't be able to pronounce if I tried. Because it's like VLTER. I don't even know how you pronounce VLT. Volterior. Like, so like they were basically just city states. It wasn't the true Spain yet.
So then Zucchabar, we meet Proximo, a former gladiator, freed. Wasn't he freed by Marcus Aurelius? He says he met
was.
him.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very respectable guy. I like that. I like that aspect of him. He just cares about the honor of being in the arena and dying for the entertainment of others. It's not like, hey, I'm going to throw you in here. And he inspects the herd, if you will, and gets them ready for the gladiatory games. He, of course, puts them through little trials here and there to see what they can do, but Maximus refuses to do it. He gets hit a bunch of times by this guy. I think he's a Germanic soldier. I think that's what the
Yes,
the summary says it. Yeah.
Hagen implies German descent.
Yes. So they get sent to the arena, and we have a clip here. I don't believe it has any sound, so you have to unmute yourself, though. So let me click the clip.
Yeah.
And they are, of course, chained together with this.
My favorite guy is the dude with the spikes and the dude bro tattoos that somehow got onto the set. I'm like, how did they not catch that shit?
The extended version has what's his name, Hagar, and the
Hagen.
guy screaming. They have like a scene talking about before things.
Yeah, so the guy that dies immediately, who he like pees himself just before they go through the gate, which is like, that's a very effective moment on its own. But the extended edition, you get an extra scene where he's basically he's like, freedom. Like, how do I get free? Like, I'm a scribe, I shouldn't be here. How can I be free? And then the German guy, he says, like, well, if you want to be free, you got to kill me, and then you got to kill him, and you got to kill him, and you got to kill everyone that you see until you're good enough to be freed. And he's like, I can't do that. Is there another way? It's like, well, tough shit. Sorry.
No, there isn't another way.
One of my favorite little details is that before every fight, he picks up, dirt, or sand. He rubs his hands. He smells it, because that's actually, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're in a fighting sport, which is really what gladiatorial combat was. But any kind of thing where you do, you have your habits, and it's so he does that. It's a routine that he does to get into battle mode. He does it at the very beginning of the movie in Germania, and he does it every time before one of the fights here. Pretty cool. And someone just fell off their TV, their computer.
Through my mouse.
So we cut over to Rome. Commodus is returning back heroically after the battles and everything, and he has, I think it was 100 days of gladiatory games to honor his father.
150, I think.
That's a lot of people that died.
Oh yeah, and I really like the detail as well that we get that after learning, or maybe we learn, I forget the order, but we also learn that Marcus Aurelius did not like the gladiatorial games because he closed them down. But Commodus is just like, fuck it, we're doing games to honor my father. Like he didn't know or care about his father, and he's just using I'm gonna honor my father as an excuse to like manipulate the people of Rome so that he can be loved, because that's what he really wants. Yeah.
To answer
Jacoby's character, who's Senator Gracchus, I think his name is, isn't it? Who's like also another person who needs to be reminded of the dream that's Rome, because when Commodus does this, when he promises effectively bread and circuses, Gracchus kind of smugly and cynically says, of course the people will go along with it, because that's what the people are. The people are just basically animals to be led around by a leash. And it's only toward the end of it that he's sort of, when he's symbolically united with every class in Rome at the very end of the movie, when he's sort of like everybody else been reminded that Rome and its people, crucially, are more than just mere animals to be fed with bread. They are actually the spirit of Rome itself. It's all to be found in the character of its people. It's quite an American message. Like a lot of the views that are held by people in this film, especially the senators, are not the views that you would hold as senators at that time. There wasn't a huge amount of faith in the spirit of the people, but it has to be made relatable and relevant to a modern audience. This is how you do that, though. You don't obviously start lecturing people.
I just want to bring up what Bosch said here. It probably is that too, but I was just saying that he clearly has his routine that he does, and he does it before right before he starts, he does the same thing, and that's whether or not it's for grip or just because he sniffs it as well, so it might also have some benefit to his mental state for the battle. It's like, face down in the dirt kind of thing. It's just I like the touch, and apparently somebody else, I missed it in the chat, said that it was something that Russell Crowe came with up on the spot, which is pretty cool.
I like that.
Yeah, it is an interesting commentary. And I do like the subtlety of this movie. All the way around, there's a lot of subtlety that I think is missing in a lot of the movies the last 10, 15 years. That it could have been a lecture, and it would have sucked to have that. But there's little bits I guess we're going to come up to it, where he wins the fight and he shouts, are you not entertained, whatever. And then the crowd is like, fuck yeah, we love this guy. And it's like, he insulted you to your faces, and they're excited. And that was a nice little moment that does what a lecture would not do. That these people are idiots. These people are more they just don't care. They're there for the blood. And even if they get yelled at for liking the blood and cheering, they will still cheer for that. Even it's wild. And it's
so he was the first wrestling heel back then.
Yes, basically.
Pretty much.
He was Stone Cold Steve Austin long before he existed.
Yeah, the first Stone Cold. Yep. So back at the arena, I don't really understand this part. Maybe you guys help me fill this out, though. How come he was chosen to do this? Because after the match, Proximo put him in there by himself. Did he know Maximus?
Time jump would be the explanation. Really? I think the suggestion here, I could be misinterpreting this, but I believe the suggestion here is that Maximus has sort of gained a little bit of a reputation fighting in North Africa, to the point where he is just carving through people left and right, because this could be because of the extended edition that I'm thinking this, because we get a scene where Proximo urges him to be an entertainer and not just
that's in the theatrical version as well.
Oh, is that in theatrical as well? Okay.
Yes, but the time jump might not have been in it, which makes a lot of sense because it is right after this scene. And also, the scene before that, he was chained up next to Juba, so he didn't really stand out that much.
Yeah, I think Random was on the money, though, is that we're just not seeing. He's probably fought through several people at this point and killed them all very quickly, which is cool. They even say it. Proximo says, that's fine here. You'll entertain people here, but you get to Rome, that shit ain't going to fly. that's the world. That's the world championships. Like you need to really be a showman, basically.
Exactly. So we have a video here of it. There's no audio, so just make sure you unmute yourselves.
Unmuted. Ah, yes. This is the scene that you said screwed you up when you were a kid.
Yeah, saw this, turned around, walked out of the room. Like, nope, I was not mentally ready for this.
It's funny because like this is probably the most famous scene in the movie, and it's not even in the Coliseum. That's what I find funny about it.
Ooh, I mean, there's really two contenders for that. I would have thought, like the most famous lines from this movie. You've got "Are you not entertained?" and then you've got "Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife."
Yeah, I think that's probably the best lines. I don't think it's the most iconic. "Are you not entertained?" is by far the most iconic.
Yeah, it's the "I'll be back" of Gladiator, isn't it? It's it's short and it's to the point.
And it's also done at the height of this really bloody scene, and he's really pumping up the crowd, whereas the other one is way more subtle. It's they're both fantastic lines. That and the beginning. I mean, there's just a lot of really iconic lines in this movie.
Yep. So he says the "Are you entertained?" line here while throwing his sword into the crowd, though. And Proximo tells Maximus, "Yes, we are going to Rome. We are going to do this right." And Maximus was giving him a speech about how he doesn't even want. Of course, he's lying to him, saying that my dream is to stand before the emperor in glorious battle and things like that. Obviously, lying through his teeth the entire time. And Proximo gives him a really sweet set of armor. I don't know.
I think that was Proximo's armor.
It was Proximo's armor. Yes.
Yeah, because if you look, it's the one that he wears normally has the horses on it.
Yeah, that was nice.
It's a symbolic moment as well, because Proximo, having been freed by Marcus Aurelius, has kind of lost his way as well. Like everyone in the film loses their way. The world itself has lost its way, and so by handing over like the symbols that he used to be proud of himself wearing to Maximus, it's kind of the symbolic transference of the dream that is Rome. And so by wearing this armor, by proving that it's not mere entertainment, by showing Proximo that there is something more important to live for, and that actually this can affect real change as opposed to just playing to people's worst inclinations, it's a great way of sort of showing Proximo's journey as well from the beginning. He sees something in Maximus, is why he's pushing him more than anybody else. And that's kind of like, okay, that's because you used to be more than you currently are. You actually do want to dream of a better version of Rome, and Maximus will be the person who kind of embodies that over time.
Part of why I think that the Proximo character is so good in this movie as well, though, is because they don't just flip him like here. A lesser movie would have had him be like, "Oh fuck yeah, you can take on Rome and make everything better," and then he's just on Team Maximus the whole time. That's explicitly not the case later in the movie, because Maximus essentially has to ask him, like, why can't you just release me? Like, and he says, well, and then what? Like, I'm an entertainer. I need you. Like, I'm if you can get someone to buy you, then I will happily sell you and you can go on and do your thing. But why would I set you free to kill the man that's making me rich? Like, but then that's when Maximus reveals, like, this guy killed the man that set you free. And then that goes a long way towards changing Proximo's mind. But that conversation doesn't happen until like 20 minutes before the end of the movie.
Yeah, a lot later though. And then afterwards, Maximus and Juba have a conversation about lost loved ones and the afterlife, and will you finally meet them again, and what do you have to do to finally see your family one day again. And then we cut to Rome, where Proximo and the gladiators arrive there. I like this little scene here where he touches the foot of one of the statues there. It just shows, like, his love for the games and the respect that he has for Rome and what's going on here.
Is that a statue of Marcus Aurelius? Because I don't believe we see it.
We see the statue. I forgot what the name is on. Of course, it's like a Jack statue, so it's kind of hard to tell if it's Dumbledore or not, though. But he definitely says "Hello, old friend," and kisses his foot.
Yeah, it could be specifically Marcus Aurelius, or it could be like, Rome is his old friend because it's where he goes every now and then to get rich. I'm not sure.
Oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, I kind of like his outfit there too. It's sort of it's reminiscent of like the soldier armor. So it's even him kind of getting back into gladiator mode. Like he's not even showing up as a merchant. He's showing up as, I used to do this. I'm a former celebrity, kind of reliving the glory days sort of thing. Even the costume speaks to that, which is excellent.
having a little technical problem here. Dark Hour, where's the rest of the slides, though? I see a thing that says stop sharing. I don't want to click that. Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, you
So-
just flip to the next slides.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. So it starts off with Commodus watching Lucretia's son, Lucius, as he's sleeping. And of course, he becomes the main star of the sequel. But
No,
right
don't
now, it's
remind
almost...
me.
yeah, right now, he sees him almost as a tool to, okay, I can now use this to twist my sister's hand here because she has something that she loves.
That's not what he wants to twist. He wants to twist something else.
Pretty much. And while this is going on, Lucretia, who was this dude's name?
Gracchus.
Gracchus, yeah.
He has not aged a single day from this movie to the second one.
Well, that's what we said that about Connie Nielsen too.
Oh,
She
yeah.
looks very similar in this second one. I saw pictures of her, and I said that it's partially because she looked a little older than she was at this point. So she just kind of aged through that period and stayed kind of the same. He was already older though. So.
She was at that MILF age when she was in her 20s. It seems.
Yeah, she was like she had the MILF look when she was like 28, and she just kept it when she became 58.
That
So.
Millie Bobby Brown thing she has going on. Yeah.
It is so funny to compare Gracchus in this film and then when they bring him back for the next one because he's so important to this one. He has such like a pivotal role. He represents an entire side of the story, and then in the sequel, he's there because he's there, and then he dies.
But
why not?
But even
His death
worse,
scene
though,
is so funny.
It really is. It's
I
just-
don't want to like jump into the second one, but he's so confused. It's like, didn't you do this in the first one? You did the exact same thing.
He's like, wait a minute, I feel like I've lived this moment before.
Yeah. And then when
They
his death scene happens, like, oh, if I'm a Roman guard, who should I attack? The gladiators or the 90-year-old man cowering in fear in the corner?
I do agree with Neo here, by the way. There should have been some hot sex scenes in this movie.
This was the hottest couple before 50 Shades of Grey came out, I think.
But you know, I look this is my fucking soapbox that I always get onto is that I think movies get way too gratuitous with sex scenes and nudity and shit. And this one was violent, but even this one I think it did it enough to show you the brutality of the Colosseum and all of that, and it didn't get into slasher flick. We had totes of blood on sale, so we got it and figured we'd use it, sort of thing. Like I think that it does its job, but not too much, and it never feels like anybody on staff was like, you know what, I want to see are some tits, so we're gonna have those. You know what I mean? Like they
needed me on the staff. That was the problem. I would do that with every movie though. It'd be like, this is a comedy, and I'd be like, no, you don't understand.
That's my thing. I can't stand that. It really bugs me in movies, especially movies that I really love, and then I'm like, oh, but we had to have. We needed Florence Pugh's tits, and in Oppenheimer for some random reason we needed Adrian Brody to fuck a few women in The Brutalist for some random reason, and it bothers me. And I love that about this movie, that they were like, no, we could do that, but we're going to get the feeling of creepy incest across without having to show it, and I think that it actually is even creepier because they didn't go to bed with each other.
Yes.
The whole fingers in the mouth. So fucking.
So
I got
Iceman actually points out a thing. I don't remember which stream it was that I recently said this, but it's amazing how America and pretty much all of Europe for the most part, but a lot of European countries have very opposite stances on those two. Mm-hmm. Like America, we're like, yeah, give us blood, guts, guns, violence, chopping heads off, but one titty. Rated R. You guys are not allowed to watch it. The exact opposite is true for a lot of European countries, and not all of them. Obviously, that's
because all our Puritans ran away to found America. So
yeah, well, that's kind of what it is. We're built on. Well, let's be real. That's a great way. But, yeah, like no titties, but lots of death. That's what we're built on.
Well, that Iceman's phrasing there though is like they'll show extreme violence but not romance, but that's not romance. And I think that's the big thing, is that what we've got in American films is people are like, we need a romance, quick, they're fucking, and it's like, but that's not romance. So I think that's a big gap that people are missing, is when shows want to show people love each other, like, well, they fuck, but that's not romance. That's not a romantic plot line. So I think that's where they're failing.
With that Janet Jackson thing, that's when a lot of boys became men that day.
Yeah. So that was one generation for that. The previous one before that was every boy that was taken to see the movie Titanic when they were a kid. That was the
Yeah.
all of a sudden she's just like, now draw me, and it's like, okay.
So in this scene here, Lucretia's talking to I'm not gonna bother with his name though, about trying to overthrow
Gracchus.
Commodus. Damn it. Trying to get support, trying to dethrone him.
If you don't know their name, just throw a random sound and put US at the end of it, and you're probably right.
I will try to remember
Just
that.
call him Politicus.
That's notorious.
That's why I need 2 monitors so I can write this stuff down on one, because now I'm trying to like have my phone close to the next slide.
You've now learned why 2 monitors are required.
I'm doing the best I can here.
See, I have an ultra wide, so I might as well have 3 monitors.
So speaking of the titties, though, Maximus makes his way through a sea of whores to the arena.
quite literally whores. He's not just saying that. They're actual. This dude has the greatest
best
fucking eyebrows ever. Like, I want this guy's eyebrows.
He's got the eyebrows. He's got the voice as well. He has an incredible voice for like he's the announcer, isn't he? When he comes to when he introduces all the battles, he's
he like changes his voice too for it. It's like when he's speaking here, it's more normal. Then he's like like he like puts on this like gravelly voice that I can't even begin to figure out.
In between cuts, he smoked 50 cigarettes at once.
It's again, to bring up the second one, it's kind of funny how this guy has such a booming, loud voice, but in the sequel, it's the guy from Great British Bake Off as the announcer for it.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, wait, who are we talking about?
It's the bald guy from Little Britain. What the fuck?
Oh, Matt Lucas. Matt Lucas.
So, well, yeah, he does the announcement, but he doesn't even do a voice for it, and he can do voices. They just think, it's Gladiator 2. No one gives a shit about this movie.
We're talking about Gladiator 2 next week.
Platoon, I'm gonna drag your ass back for Gladiator 2. Okay, I plan on doing a month where we just do terrible sequels to good films that we covered at one point, and now you've just signed your ass up for
be a 5-hour stream.
Oh, good.
So, help me out here, guys. What is the issue here, though? Because he's talking to Proximo about contracts and things like that, and I never really understood that. Is that an extended thing?
No. So the problem that Proximo has is that he's brought his gladiators here to for them to fight in multiple combats so that he can get rich. And this guy is basically telling him, no, they're going to go in the first fight. They're going to take part in the Battle of Carthage, which Proximo refers to as the Massacre of Carthage. I don't know the history surrounding it, but they are going to play the barbarians who were massacred, which means that if the fight goes the way that it will probably go, all of Proximo's fighters are going to die immediately. And he will be paid, but he's not going to be paid as much as he would be paid if they actually won some fights. That's why he's pissed off.
It's an interesting slight historical inaccuracy because there is a reason actually most gladiatorial fights didn't end up being fights to the death. So that you were very, very heavily compensated as the owner of Gladiator if your gladiator did actually die in the ring. So they play a little bit fast and loose with that in order to have Proximo's character be what he is and do what he does. In reality, they probably wouldn't stage the Massacre of Carthage and kill all the gladiators because it would bankrupt the state. But
yeah.
It does lead to one of the best lines, though, when Commodus is like, "I don't know my history. I don't know my history that well, but shouldn't the barbarians be losing or something like?" He says something like that, and it's.
I don't think you could lose in that. I could understand like 1-on-1 though. You put up the 2 signs that I might give up, but arrows and chariots with swords on, I don't see how you can give up in that one.
So, a lot of the weapons they used weren't so. They didn't always use bladed weapons, and we just lost Platoon.
Nope, he died again.
Platoon heard we're doing Gladiator 2 at some point. He was like, "I'm out of here." So actually, Amelia Bedelia says it best here. Gladiators were like nowadays wrestling. Yeah, that we mentioned that earlier in the stream that they were basically like pro. They played characters. They played up to the audiences. They didn't more often than not, like 90% of the time, they didn't die. They got fucked up, but they didn't die. They didn't always use bladed and weapons and stuff. There was ones that were specifically fights to the death. That was like a gimmick that they could use and apply. But more often than not, you wanted them to survive. You were investing heavily in these guys. You had to train them. You had to feed them, clothe them. Like you put a lot of money, and if you bring him there and he loses and dies, it's like, okay, well, it doesn't really matter how much money you made. You put a shit ton into him being there.
Wow, this kind of ruined my whole thought of gladiators now. I thought everything was to the death.
Most of my historical knowledge is from movies too. And a few years ago, I started to learn this stuff, and I was like, oh wow, I think a lot of folks that have watched like Gladiator and that kind of thing, everybody thinks, oh, it was always death battles. And yeah, I learned a few years ago that it was not. It was very much like pro wrestling. It was a show, and pretty much only, state prisoners would be thrown to lions and shit, and very few people died. And I was like, oh, that's
I would argue it was very much like modern day boxing and MMA. There was a chance of really getting severely injured or even dying, obviously, but pancration, which is like early day MMA, it was wrestling and boxing mixed together from the Greek periods, was pretty much what they would do to each other for the most part, and like blunt weapons.
I thought you said penetration.
No, pancration. Pancration.
It's like, yeah, that's a Greek thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the difference is that with like MMA, it is currently, viewed and always has been like viewed under a microscope. There are very clear rules that are there for the safety of the fighters. Whereas back then, not really a thing. And I'm sure if you sent your gladiator in and he got fucked up and died, you're not going to be very happy. But at the same time, that was a possible outcome just because of the nature of what that person is doing and the fact that if they get injured, if they take a particularly bad hit with any kind of weapon, that could be it for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, even, I think kind of what you're saying, like modern day combat sports, obviously there's doctors that go and check, we have x-rays, we have MRIs, CAT scans. Like somebody could have got nailed in the head with a club. They're wearing a helmet. They're still concussed all fuck. They have a brain bleed, or a hemorrhage. They don't realize they dropped dead later that night. And it's not in the battle, but they still did. That's something that obviously can't be caught in whatever year this was. I don't know when Commodus was emperor, like
180 AD, I believe it was. That's what
okay, yeah. So I don't know exactly what year this takes place. That's like one of the, but either way, I mean, anything prior to the existence of the X-ray machine, you probably had a pretty bad chance of surviving a brain hemorrhage.
So after this, we get Lucius inspecting the gladiators. He has a affiliate, likes watching the games, and talks to Maximus. Maximus explains about his horses and a little bit about his land. Does not realize this is his bastard son out of wedlock. Sorry, that's the sequel, but we'll talk about that another day. And this part always kind of confused me, though. He says that his name is Lucius Varus. So was Commodus like a nickname or something of it? Because then he realized, oh shit, I have to maybe conceal myself right now. But what was the last name Varus for?
I believe that was the name of Lucilla's husband, who is now dead. He's stated to be dead, and that's how Maximus realizes that this kid is Lucilla's son.
Oh, okay. My bad on that, though. So
honestly, that's the one scene that probably would have been improved by him knowing that that it's his son, because they could have definitely had a "you are not the father" moment, like right there.
I want to know the timeline of when that happened, but again, that's for sequel stream of it. So we have again here the Battle of Zama, and what was the recreation of it? It was the barbarians or something like that. What was it?
The Battle of Carthage is what it was. Which again, the historical battle. I don't know what actually went down, but I guess a whole bunch of people got killed by some Romans.
I can look it up real quick. I don't know. That's outside of my my general knowledge.
The Romans did trash them. The Romans destroyed Carthage, and the reason Carthage no longer meaningfully exists is that they kept fighting punitive wars against Rome, and then the Romans got sick of them and said, you know what, fuck you, goodbye Carthage, wipe you off.
So these numbers are impressive, to say the least. So the strength of the infantry for Rome, 46,000, 4,000 cavalry, so 50,000 total. Strength of the Carthage group, 30,000 soldiers, large number of armed civilians, around 60,000, so that's 90,000. And the battle ended with 750,000 people dying in Carthage and 50,000 enslaved. So they killed approximately, what is that, 8 times the amount, or enslaved 8 times the amount that were actually in the battle. So that's I would say the term massacre, a very, very accurate, to say the least. When you go into battle and go, hey, we have to beat those 90,000 people, and you kill 750,000, You somehow figured out that math? Yeah, you win the term massacre for sure.
So then we have the battle here. We have a clip for it, but no sound on it, so make sure you unmute yourselves.
One of my favorite things about this battle is how the actual people that are supposed to be getting fuck themselves up with the carriages and stuff.
Yeah. We could actually see it was like a gas tank that they accidentally showed when one of the carts were flipping over.
That's my favorite kill in the whole movie,
here,
by the way,
there
right there. My favorite kill in
yeah.
the whole movie is that random archer chick just gets sliced in half.
I didn't see that.
Like, because the way she throws her arms up is just so hilarious right before it.
Like the Commodus thing, though. Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you looked up while that was going on? You're in the middle of dying, and the Emperor is just doing that shit right there.
I like this poor guy just getting dragged out.
Yeah.
They bash him in the face with a shield.
So afterwards, Commodus wants to go greet the gladiators of it, give them a little bit of a congratulatory thing. I can't remember the name of the guards here. Praetorians. I can't write it down now. I don't have pen and paper. I'm in a nursery. So
just think it's like little Platoon, but the opposite of that. So it's PR instead of PL.
That's gonna confuse him more.
I already lost it. So Maximus aside, he reaches for a discarded arrow, and he's gonna
it's like the arrow,
Commodus right there, but he has Lucius in front of him not as a shield. He just has him, and he doesn't want to kill him right in front of him though. And Maximus turns his head and says one of the most iconic lines ever of does someone want to try to take a shot at doing it like Russell Crowe?
I think Platoon's got to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to volunteer him though.
Platoon, do you know the legendary line, right?
I mean, I think I know the line. I'm not going to do a Russell Crowe, but
I just think your voice is fine with it. I think it'll sound great.
Is it? My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Is that the one?
Yeah. That's the line right there.
Which wasn't originally Russell Crowe wasn't happy with that line when it was first. So he read it in the script and he turned to Ridley Scott and I think he said he thought it was just too comic booky. It was it was a bit too cliche. And Ridley Scott said, "No, trust me, this is going to work. Just read the line." He did, and of course, it's one of the most iconic lines in the entire thing. There is an almost direct analog for that in the sequel, where the opposite thing happens, and the character playing Discount Maximus is supposed to have a big speech, and he said to Ridley Scott, "You know what? I don't think this is going to work." And Ridley Scott says, "Yeah, fuck it, I don't care." So instead of this big speech, he's supposed to have a big speech, and instead he just says, "Survive." To these people who we don't know who the fuck they are. They're never introduced as characters, and that's it. That was his big. My name is Maximus Decimus, or in his case, my name is Lucius Verus Decimus Meridius II. It's so incredibly lazy. Everything.
You were going to say it was the poetry scene.
Oh God, yeah. I mean that probably should have been cut as well, but
we're totally doing the second one after this.
Yeah. I think Amelia Bedelia hits it on the head right here. Is that he probably could have just stuck with Maximus. I think he just saying. I think Commodus figured out who he was pretty quickly. He didn't need to give the full name.
Oh, I think it was totally badass.
They break Roman naming conventions because it's not. He should really have said. I think it's Decimus Meridius Maximus, not Maximus Decimus Meridius, because of the way that the Romans did their patronymics. But it sounds cooler, so they went.
I mean, this is the right here. Smilek says the best Roman name ever.
Of course,
biggest dickus.
I don't know if the people if they ever state that the people would have known who he was. So I guess the speech is really more for the crowd than it is for Commodus. And I don't know the history enough to know if the people would know who Maximus. Well,
he was like a legendary general. He would probably be known. Either way, I think it's more hilarious when you realize that. So they're not mic'd up. Obviously, this is the 2nd century or whatever. None of the people in the crowd can hear him talking.
I'm gonna say what the cheap bastard up top is like. What is he saying?
Yeah, nobody can hear it. The barker, so to say, the guy with the wig and the gravelly voice. he has to scream for everybody to hear him. And this conversation, for the most part, is at a regular tone. So no one is hearing this.
I figured this was entirely this was dialogue intended for Commodus. This is not Maximus putting on a show and informing the people that their emperor is evil or anything like that. This is just him directly telling Commodus, like, explicitly, this is who I am, I know what you've done, and I'm gonna fucking kill you.
So I would agree with you with that, but then they start chanting Maximus right afterwards.
Does the announcer not say his name at this? Because I know he does later.
I don't think he does after this.
He's Spaniard at this point.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then the crowd can hear him. So you're right.
So I mean, it's one of those very minor things. I find it funny that in my mind, nobody can really hear him talking. They're just watching two guys staring at each other, kind of.
Like, yeah, why are the guards going to attack these guys? What's going on here?
There's sorry, go for it.
Two had the absolute best parody of that ever when he's given the monologue and the peacock can't handle
it. Yes.
That is one of the greatest moments.
I love that scene. Kung Fu Panda 2 is not really particularly good, but that scene, like compared to the first one, I don't like
Kung
that
Fu Panda
one.
2 is the best one. Sorry.
I think the first one's better, but it's whatever. But that scene is fantastic. Like when what?
But this part, I don't understand it. Why he puts his hand up? He's going to do a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's like, why are you going to kill these people? Because you can't kill them because you're going to lose. He's doing all this to gain favor with the people of Rome. So
yeah. The reason is that, like, he's forced to choose as to whether or not he wants the love of the people, or does he want Maximus dead? What is his priority? And he realizes that his priority is that for now he wants to be loved because he can deal with Maximus another way later. Mm-hmm. And the fact his obsession with getting the approval of the crowd, which is the whole reason why these games are even taking place in the first place, that sort of need for validation, that is what allows Maximus to eventually defeat him, because otherwise he'd be dead right now.
I just want to point out to the audience, I'm not a huge Jack Black fan, so that does affect my opinion of the Kung Fu Panda movies. like they could actually probably be way better, but because I have to listen to Jack Black the whole time, I'm like, okay.
I don't think you gave the second one another chance. We should do the second one day too.
You know what? We'll do it. I'll allow myself to. It's just one of those things.
Just like with Commodus getting the approval, we're going to do 100 straight days of streaming with the movies that the audience is going to.
If you want to make the slides, I'll do it. I don't.
You have to decide the worst movies.
I do love that here. It's like his entire plan has gone. It's bit him in the ass. He can't do the things that he can't kill the guy because it would do the opposite of what he wanted.
It is amazing that one little thing is screwing up everything for him right now.
Yeah. And I also find it amusing that Maximus is very almost given the chance to get his revenge after his first battle. And at this point, we're barely halfway through the movie. So, yeah, I mean, the movie could have ended at this point, I guess, if Lucius hadn't been there.
He didn't want to murder his own son.
He didn't want to risk it, certainly.
Yeah. But afterwards, Commodus does realize that he cannot have Maximus killed. He will lose favor with the people of Rome. And just like we said before, like, hubris is the reason why this guy can't do this stuff now. And later on that night, Lucretia informs Maximus that there is a plot to dethrone Commodus. And she wants to make sure that he is on board with it because I think he's going to be installed in as the Caesar, right? As the father's wishes were.
Well, he would have been. It wouldn't have been Caesar. It was supposed to be like a temporary kind of watchman as the government switched back to a republic. So he wouldn't be like a Caesar. He would just essentially be like a. I don't know what the term I'm looking for is.
It was going to be Gracious. Did I get that right?
Well, Gracchus would have given them sort of the legitimacy of democracy, because that is required in this movie. And Maximus, they found his legion. His legion is kind of nearby. So he provides the figurehead, he provides the military support, and Gracchus is the thing that gives it political legitimacy. Is their original plan, until it, of course, goes awry.
I think it would be kind of difficult having a soldier implemented as the leader versus a political person.
No, generals were often put in positions of power during if a king died, they would often become like a king regent of some kind.
It's the
Until
model they actually do use for Maximus. I think it's Cincinnatus is the model they use for Maximus, who was a soldier. He was a great Roman general. He had retired, and at a period of crisis, they went to him to ask him to, sort of take up the sword, but also to rule the empire through its period of crisis, which he did. And like he's one of the history's sort of most virtuous people because he shows what rulership is about. He does it. He leads them through the crisis. He surrenders his power again, and he goes off to retire, funnily enough, on his farm. So Maximus is kind of modeled on him as the idea.
I think so. The term I was probably looking for, he'd be kind of like a custodian. That'd be kind of like the term that they would use. He'd be the custodian that would be the one to oversee the transition from empire to republic. But it's not. It was very common, especially if there was an heir that was not of age. It would sometimes it would be the queen. Would be like a queen regent, but sometimes they would also put in place one of the high-ranking members of whatever in this case, the Senate, or a very trusted general would basically be a king regent. Whether or not they would step down their power would often lead to many wars after that fact. But that was a pretty common practice.
Is there a distinction between a Caesar and an emperor? Because I don't know my history well enough.
So to my knowledge, I should have invited History Bro on this one. To my knowledge, Julius Caesar was just the emperor. It was just his name, Julius Caesar. And then when he was, usurped and like went on to, everybody was like, well, I'm the new Caesar. Like they basically made his name synonymous with emperor. And so that's kind of how it happened. And then, of course, that would go on to be like the Kaisers in Germany later on, and the Czars. They were just offshoot words from Caesar.
It's like if in, like, say, 100 years' time, the next American leader was the newly elected Trump. And it's like, it's no one related to him, but his name has become the title of the job.
Yeah. It just became synonymous with it, and they had the practice of it was very similar to how when a new pope is elected, they choose a new name. A lot of times the emperor would choose a new name to go along with it. I know that Commodus changed his name twice during his reign. The first time was when he became emperor, and then when he was leaving his emperorship, which I guess he stepped down. He changed it back to his original name.
Oh, okay. So speaking of Commodus, he realizes that the only way he can get Maximus killed is to pit him in the arena against the undefeated champion, which has the most badass armor I've ever seen, probably in a movie though. But really quickly, this dude here, he's Maximus's. He was with him in the camp. He was actually an extra on Braveheart. He has 2 distinct scars on his face though, and Mel Gibson asked them what happened to him. And he explained how he got mugged and the guy cut his face up. And after he heard that, he says, you're going to be a guy in the movie. And then he became the character that his wife was prima nocted, and actually started his acting career because of that one question from Mel Gibson.
Yeah, he has a central role in Sons of Anarchy. Tommy Flanagan, he plays Chibbs in Sons of Anarchy, and he is rather good.
Yeah, very, very talented guy, though. Yep, so we have a fights here. We have
here's his name for you, Joe. This is the name of the character.
I'm not going to try to
Tigris of Gaul.
Tigris of Gaul. Perfect. You're going to have to unmute yourself, Stuart.
Which is basically like the tiger of Gaul.
How many kills did he have to get that armor?
Well, he's undefeated. So he has several scars on his face. So he was clearly in death matches.
Is undefeated like a lot back then?
I would assume. I mean, it seems like
he looks old.
It seems. I mean, 150 days of games right now, and so that if they did these kind of festivals with any degree of regularity, he probably had several hundred fights. Yeah. Also, you got to remember,
the only undefeated champion is the way he's built as well. But the other crucial piece of information, which is thematic information, is that he's been retired for 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
So again, another example of all they're being able to do is bringing these old heroes out of retirement with no ability to make or manufacture new ones, and so of course they lose.
I don't really like how he gets stabbed in the foot and that's it for him.
He would lose that foot for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So Commodus, of course, furious at the Tigris of whatever he was. Gaul, sorry. Gives the thumbs down.
I'm gonna buy you a Latin dictionary and a map.
Spain wasn't even a place during this time. What was it going to say? Just East Germany?
Well, no. They would. That's one of the things. He wouldn't even speak Spanish. He'd speak Latin. So it's like that's one of the. Yeah,
having trouble.
That's why it's weird they call him Spaniard. In my opinion, it's like.
See, it ruins it when we learn more about this movie because now I'm like, what the hell is Spaniard at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it was the Hispania region, but it wasn't Spain. It's weird.
So the Spaniard decides to spare the man because obviously he's not going to execute him at Commodus's. I really should have wrote down what the hell these things are. Praetorian guards.
Praetorian.
Okay, no. Listen, in the second movie, again, we'll watch that one next week. Joseph Quinn screams Praetorian.
Next week is Easter.
What better time than to watch the resurrection of a dead movie?
Pray as in I pray to the gods. Tor as in Tor. Ian as in a person named Ian.
I will do my best next time. So they show up to kill him.
Just say the guards. Say
the guards. The guards.
The soldiers.
The soldiers.
Guards.
As we're never mind. So Commodus tries to goat Maximus into killing him. But this is what I don't really like about it because he explains that his son cried like a girl as they nailed him to the cross, but he clearly died instantly, getting run over by those horses. So I think
I mean, the way around it would be to say that Commodus is chatting shit because he knows that Maximus does not know what actually happened.
Yeah.
So he's saying that we did all these horrible things. And I mean, the stuff about what they did to his wife, that I would imagine is absolutely what happened, partly because we don't see it. But yeah, I mean, the kid being run over by a horse. Yeah, I mean, if he had told the truth, because also remember Commodus wasn't there when that happened. But if the soldiers reported to Commodus the truth, and then Commodus told Maximus the truth here, he would have said, "When we ran over your son with a horse, he screamed." It wouldn't quite have.
He made us thud.
The same. Yeah, he went bonk as we hit him with the.
I really hope that.
So I know how
in front of a horse.
I know that sequence is supposed to be really, like almost traumatizing to us, the audience. But the way that the kid bounces off the horse, if you watch it really closely, because obviously it's not really a kid being run over by a horse. It just looks so silly, but it's only a brief moment. So they cut away from it pretty quickly. But it's like rewatching it, I was like, yeah, if you put one sound effect in that, it changes the entire.
I should have done that.
Yeah.
So of course Maximus does not attack him now. He says, "We'll settle this later on, though." And he goes outside where, Cicero? No, yeah, Cicero. I got it right. Thank you, guys.
And the same hooker from earlier, might I add.
Before. Yes.
Like she's really trying. She's a groupie.
Yeah. So he informs him that he still has soldiers loyal to him. They're outside the gates, they're outside Rome, ready to go whenever he is. Sorry, one second. Yep.
Here we go.
And
then if we could get someone to record it exactly like this, and they say your wife yelled like Goofy when they ravaged her again and then, yeah, I can't even say it. I don't know how to do the Goofy voice.
I really hope that didn't happen because imagine being the guard that has to give that document over to Commodus. Like, yeah, we we did what you said. We all took our turns. Here you go.
We did it like this. We did it like that.
Yeah.
We did it with a whiffle.
This was the order of which we all went. It was like the modern day version of those OnlyFans girls. It was like everyone just.
She died of snoof.
No, I mean that one I think is right. I would assume that the kid probably died pretty. Like I would assume as soon as he got hit by the horse,
he hit
probably
by a horse. He's dead.
And he definitely was trampled by the other horses. There's no way that they did anything else to him. Like he was dead.
So the next day, I guess they have like the theaters outside. They have some balls on them because the whole time they're making fun of Commodus. I'm kind of shocked they would do that. I thought he would just execute everyone after hearing about something like that. But they have a little theater outside where Cicero finds Lucretia in her. They have like these cabs of being carried by people, and he explains to her of what's going on. He explains that the army is still out there, and then they have forces to help them take down Commodus if any problems happen.
If there was ever a show of wealth disparity in an empire, it's when you walk past the peasants being carried by people in really white clothes, laying down as if you couldn't give two fucks what's going on. That's pretty much what just happens there.
Yeah. And I forgot his name again. Meets with Maximus to again talk about there's a lot of talking about plans in this movie. I think as a kid I just kind of fast forward to the fight scenes, but they really just filled the silence with more, we're gonna take down Commodus and bring Republic to the Republic.
Gracchus,
that guy.
Politicus.
If I can remember.
I mean, he's really the only senator that they show with any degree of regularity. There's that other one who later on gets they like release a snake in his bed, but I don't know that one's name.
Gaius is that guy, and then Falco is the guy that is kind of working with Commodus. All three of them get quite a bit more in the extended version, because there's like a plan that they come up with that doesn't work, and then they back down on it, whereas the theatrical version is a bit more streamlined with that.
Oh, okay.
Here
so
we
at
go.
nighttime, I'm sorry.
Godzilla's. That's a movie I'd pay to see. Godzilla versus the Gladiators.
So at this point, Proximo knows what's going on, and Maximus kind of he knows the whole story of who he is, and he's not just a random slave. And we get the backstory of Proximo about Marcus Aurelius and all these things. Again, was there anything really? I kind of forgot what happens.
I believe that's the scene that I mentioned earlier where he says that he is unwilling to simply let Maximus leave. Or is that a later scene? I can't quite remember the order that this happens in.
He kind of accepts the fact that Commodus is sending people to kill them really, really fast. Like he's on board with this instantly, it seems. That was kind of my understanding of it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this story was probably expanded in the extended edition.
Yeah, because he does explain to him that I met Marcus Aurelius and he was my friend, and then Proximo was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll help you out then."
Yeah, he's like, well, basically, he says that the exact line I forget how it goes, but something along the lines of like, a man told me, and then he explains the whole situation. He goes, and that man was the man who freed you. So
yes,
it's like it's kind of a condensed version of he just realized like that which he's building his life upon is not what the person that gave him a life would have wanted. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's expanded upon further, but that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah. He's perpetuating something that the person who freed him would not have wanted.
Okay. So then, of course, afterwards, we have Commodus talking with his sister. He's very paranoid at this point, though. He knows that he has snakes in his house, and they have a very love and tender moment. Oh, I didn't have a slide for that. Damn. But afterwards, he decides, I'm going to go play sword fighting with my nephew, her son.
That is a really weird scene, too. He's like, open your mouth.
Okay. Yeah, he just puts their fingers in there, and then the next scene is, hey, I'm sword fighting with
do you want to play dentist?
And the kid has a pair of balls on him because he's like, I'm Maximus, the savior of Rome. It's like, why are you saying this to your uncle?
It's like, well, he clearly loves he loves the story of Maximus, which is why they end up talking about historical stories here. It's almost like, well, if you think that story's good, wait till I tell you about all the raping and pillaging that happened in the past. Yeah.
But this scene right here is probably one of the creepiest scenes of it, because he's just sitting with his nephew talking about just ancient stories of Rome. And then, as you see here, the look on Joaquin Phoenix's face, he explains a story how a man was betrayed and he had just his whole family killed. And the tone really got set for here. I'm kind of surprised Joaquin didn't win an Oscar for this scene right here. And
this is one of the best scenes in the film.
Yes.
The busy little bee. It's just his delivery, everything about it is just so good.
Yeah.
I do have a super chat. Random, did you have something else to add to that?
I'm going to look up who actually won the Oscar over Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay, well, you do.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
while you do that, I'll do the super chat from Blue Collar Loser, a friend of the channel, been on many times. Took my son to see this last year in theaters. I'm guessing that they did it for the second one when the second one came out. Love it. Perfect soundtrack. Sequel sucks. Love Platoon. There you go, Platoon. You're getting some love. Joe rocks. Random seems cool. He's a cool guy. I did not have Greg because I wasn't sure if Greg was going to make it. I have since added you to the description, but he's probably was going based on an older description, and he misses the black cat. We all do.
He'll be back.
He'll be back eventually. But thank you for your super chat, my friend.
Yeah. So at nighttime, the Praetorian Guards show up.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. I wish that we were still up. Platoon was like, okay, he got it right. I can go now.
Oh, man, a principal.
He's like, I have done my job. I shall. My people need me now.
By the way, I just quickly looked up who won. It was Benicio del Toro in Traffic. I have not seen Traffic, but Benicio del Toro is a very good actor. So
yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah. It's one of those movies I hear that everyone loves, but I don't actually know anyone that's actually seen it.
When I hear Traffic, that's not something I want to watch a movie about. That's just me. I've never been sitting around and going, hey, you know what I need more in my life? Yeah, that's right, Traffic.
That kid was good in that scene too, because he played it off real well as like I'm hanging out with my uncle, we're having fun, whatever, and then he can kind of feel like the scene is getting tense, but he's not really sure why. That kid did a great job there too. He looks just confused enough and a little bit like, I'm not sure that I want this guy's arm around me right now because I don't know what's going on and I'm a little scared and I don't know why. And it was really, really good.
I know him from a lot of things. Spencer Clark. I know he was in Unbreakable around the time that this movie came out.
He was the kid of I See Dead People. No, that's a different.
No, Unbreakable.
No,
God, sorry.
Let me look up what else he was in. He's got one of those faces that when you see it, you're like, I've seen him in so many things. But you can, I'm trying to like, what's the most recent thing I've seen? Well, he was in Glass because that was a sequel to Unbreakable.
I didn't see Glass.
Last House on the Left. Glass, it's a real it's a downgrade from the other.
Last House on the Left. I watched it with my wife. Killed the mood instantly.
He. I wasn't expecting that. He was also in Double Jeopardy. That's like the kid version. He does a lot of television though. That's like he does a lot of like spot stuff in television. But yeah, he's been in pretty much every show that involves murder or like, Law and Order, SVU, Criminal Minds, like all of those.
A lot of people.
But yeah, I remember when the sequel came out, when the second one came out, people were like, why didn't they just reuse him?
He should be old enough for it.
Well, he's 37 right now. So you figure last year when they were filming it, he would have been around 35-ish. Yeah. And that would make sense for the time difference.
You asked for too much out of Hollywood.
I asked for far too much. I'm sure there was some dumbass reason.
Of course. Well, they wanted to pop the new guy as the main guy in Hollywood now. But what's going on here is now the Praetorian Guards have entered the camp. I'm just kind of confused of why Commodus finally said, okay, let's just kill this bastard right here and there.
It was because he the whole conversation just now that he had with Lucilla was basically he was communicating to her that you are going to tell me what you are up to or I'm going to kill Lucius. So she does, and then that's when he realizes what's going on, the plan with the army, the plan with Gracchus and all the rest of it. So then they just show up and they're like, right, we're gonna just kill all of them.
That's like I said before, though, he has that perfect tool to use against her, and that's just what Commodus' character is, just finding everyone's weaknesses and using them against them. So Maximus is getting his little toys together, has a speech with Proximo. He's a little bit surprised that he is helping him. What did he say to him? You're in danger of becoming a good man or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Could you just go back to the previous slide? The one that shows Proximo. I'm guessing that everyone knows this, but just in case not, Oliver Reed died during filming of Gladiator.
Oh, I didn't realize that. No.
Yeah, he drank himself to death. He went to a nearby bar where they were filming and challenged some like sailors to a drinking contest.
He looks like the kind of guy who would challenge sailors to a drinking contest.
Yeah, it was something like that. And he had like 15 shots and just didn't wake up, essentially. But they hadn't finished filming the movie when he went and did that. So all of this final scene was accomplished using
CGI.
essentially using, well, it wasn't like CGI in the same way that they do now when they just recreate it with CGI, but they were like taking footage that they had used before and then framing it in a clever way and then adjusting the lighting. So like that shot right there, you can kind of tell the lighting doesn't quite match up and he looks a little bit like he's faded. That's because he's not there.
Wow.
And as far as I'm aware, everything in this scene, apart from the dialogue, is not actually him. So when he dies, it always stood out to me a little bit when I first watched it, when Proxima was killed, and then you get this very quick shot of him saying shadows and dust, and it's the same take of him delivering the line from when he said the line earlier in the film. And knowing that they copied and pasted it, that explains why it feels, why the delivery sounds a little bit strange. But that's why they had to piece it together, because the actor died.
Wow.
So apparently he died in a place called the Pub in Cyprus. That when you go to a place that is just nondescript as the Pub, you're gonna get some good shit apparently. And he drank 24 shots and 6 beers. Is it in poor taste to pour one out for him? I'm just like
I'm sure he would want you to.
I'm just gonna do it anyway. I won't put on my camera, but just be aware. I have a nice double shot of tequila for him. Pour one out for Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed. Wow, that's kind of crazy because one of the scenes I really hate in this movie, I'll talk about it in a few minutes though. But at this point, all the prisoners are completely on board with this. They say, Maximus, we are with you. But the problem is the Praetorians are obviously well armed, and they have just like wooden tables they're using as shields, and they're basically using whatever they get their hands on, and they get some. All the characters who are unnamed and Hagen get killed, basically. Yeah. Well, Juba lives, at least. Yeah, I really like Jaimin Hansu. That's why I hate the fact that he has possibly the worst agent in all of Hollywood, because he just keeps getting cast in these terrible roles in terrible movies. He's a really good actor.
Yeah. In the right movie. I mean, Blood Diamond is the obvious example for him, but he reminds me of like Nicolas Cage. He doesn't know how to say no to a role.
Yeah. He does really good, and he gets the last line in this movie. That's the crazy part. But all the actors that they had in this thing, and the last line goes to essentially a no-name at the time. He's done very well, but he's been in the news lately. He's been kind of complaining that he's not really getting the roles, and I'm thinking, in Blood Diamond, you were in Gladiator, you were in Never Back Down. Never Back Down is a very, very underrated martial arts movie. Love it. I will eventually bring that one onto here. His issue is, I think he's basically ruined his career, not intentionally, but at the end here, because he did, Shazam, and then he did Rebel Moon, and all of that has really fucked up his career. Yeah, as it should. We have Platoon back. His internet has once again.
I have reset it, so hopefully this time it will stay up.
It sucks when you're an AI and your internet goes out.
I know, yeah. Mind you, at least it gives me a chance to sleep, right?
Yeah, sleep for about 10 seconds, which in AI time is a whole day's worth of sleep. So I guess this scene here, he wasn't in it either then, because he's dead, right?
Yeah, so this is either footage that they filmed from another scene that they have just edited in. And like if you rewatch the scene now knowing that he isn't there, you can kind of tell that they have pieced it together. But when you don't know that, it doesn't really stick out as strange.
That makes sense, because this is one of my most hated scenes, is that he dies right here. And I was kind of hoping he would have some kind of a heroic moment, taking out a couple of Praetorians with him, maybe flash him back to his glory days or something. I don't know. I thought that would have been kind of a nice touch, but since
I
he's
don't
actually
mind it
dead,
too much. Maybe it would have been cool to see like him actually fighting. I think it's good that he dies. I think it's good that most of these people die. Like their role in the movie is to have been effectively reawakened to a grander purpose as something beyond themselves, and to have something to fight for again. And that's in Maximus. So them laying down their lives to give him a chance is thematically on point for the movie, and it's exactly what they need to do in this moment. The fact that, obviously Oliver Reed being dead, he couldn't do a bit of fighting himself. I mean, you could say maybe that would have made it more interesting, but I think the scene itself does exactly what it needs to do.
It's just the way he died I don't like.
Visually, it would have been cool, but I think that if they were going to do that, it's accidentally way cooler, and it fits with the the poetry of him earlier saying like, look, you don't get to choose when you die. We don't get to choose all that, whatever, but you get to face it like a man. And I think that if he had decided to go out fighting and perpetuating basically the violence and everything of the gladiatorial combat, then it wouldn't have shown the growth in him. So this actually, I think, is like the acceptance of death and what he's done and all of that, and facing it, standing up, but, you know, accepting it sort of fits with that line that he delivered earlier, but in a new way. I think that's accidentally really cool.
Can you
He
imagine?
basically becomes a good man, and then, like you say, that causes his death. He knows it's going to happen, and he doesn't fight it. He just takes it.
I wonder if that was the original plan since he died, though.
So
Yeah, it would be interesting to know.
I'm guessing not, because I have a feeling that he was supposed to fight, because they do mention, they make it a point to mention that he won his freedom through fighting. So it seems that was set up for him to fight to the end. And even that scene of him, even though I know it's not, you can tell it's not his hand, but holding the Proxima sword, and like the previous slide that you had.
He
Yeah.
might have been intended to survive. A lot of the people who do die in this movie were in various different like working drafts of the script supposed to survive. The obvious moment to have him brought in is obviously the scene right at the close when you've got basically everyone from every part of the story is uniting in carrying Maximus's body off. That would probably be, but he would have been in that scene, I would expect, because that's what everyone else is doing at that time. There were even versions where Maximus was potentially going to survive as well, but I think it was Russell Crowe who said no, he needs to die.
Yeah.
Which is always interesting when you go back and, you know, looking at the decline of Ridley Scott over the last few years and how much of it is actually just the decline of the people he's working with, because his story instincts were always shit. But he was lucky because he had people alongside him who had better ideas than he did. You kind of wonder how much of that is in play, given that he was kind of open to the idea of Maximus living on.
I have just checked the script, and yeah, Proximo does die in the original script, but he survives for quite a bit longer.
Right? That would've been so cool.
Maximus takes Juba and Proximo, and Proximo leads them through a series of tunnels. Commodus, I mean, I'm going to have to read through this properly after the stream, because Commodus has a line where he says, "Kill the boy," and he has decided to kill Lucius. Maximus sees Proximo racing to try and save Lucius, and then Proximo is killed in the attempt. That seems to be what happens in the original script.
Well, that sounds crap. Wow. What, Proximo doesn't have a relationship with Lucius. How does he even know what's going on?
That's kind of why I want to read through it all and see. That is what happens in this script.
It does seem so. If there's a part of the script that seems like it does feel a little rushed, it is right here. Like it almost feels like this all happened so quickly you can barely process it. It's fine. It works in the greater storyline, the greater narrative, because it would probably be like that in real life. All of a sudden, their plan falls apart and shit goes south quickly. But it does have this, whereas everything's more of a slower build up to this point, this just all collapses on them very fast.
Can you imagine being Ridley Scott getting that phone call that this dude drank himself to death at a bar and didn't even win?
In Cyprus, of all places.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
What the hell?
This script is so different to how the film ends up going. Commodus kills Lucilla in this script. And then it looks like he wheels out, I mean, this is giving me Gladiator 2 flashbacks. He wheels out Lucius into the arena.
Oh no. That's what's happened, because it was so obvious watching Gladiator 2 how much of it was just like discarded old ideas that he's brought back because he can't be bothered to do something new. If that's in the original Gladiator script, he's not written anything for the sequel. He's just, fuck it, we'll go back and do the stuff we didn't do the first time. It was kind of a similar experience doing Prometheus on Niad's channel, I think it was, because I was going through the original script for that while we were discussing the film. Except in that situation, the original script was significantly better than the movie we got, whereas in this case, it sounds like it was quite a bit worse.
We do have a super chat from RTNZ, a regular in my chat, and it's Hail Russ. Hope you're coping okay without Felix. I don't even know who that guy is. Nice to see you with World War Joe. Hope the Holy Week is blessed for you and Greg as well. Also, hope Platoon will grace us with another amazing Dune video essay. I don't know what LLAP is. But...
Live long and prosper.
Oh yeah. Now, now that I see the logo, yeah, now it makes sense. Yeah. But yes, thank you for that was for 10 New Zealand dollars. Thank you again. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak. I mean, Platoon may do another Dune essay. I'm not sure.
One day.
I don't know if Platoon knows his own schedule half the time.
No.
So, like,
Very mysterious. So Hagar dies. He just gets arrowed down. He has no chance whatsoever, though.
Hagar is.
We're not going to do this.
Hagar is the mayor from Final Fight. Mike Hagar, mayor of Earth, president of justice.
I don't have enough sticky notes in this room to write down the phonetic expellence of everyone's names.
I mean, all you do is spell his name properly, and you would have. There's no R at the end of Hagen.
So outside, Cicero calls to Maximus.
You get that one right. You get Hagen
I
wrong.
have that written down. That's why on my notes. So he has a noose around his neck, and it's all a trap, and Praetorian guards are everywhere, and there's Captain Maximus.
Now he's doing it on purpose because he got it right the last 2 times. Now he's just fucking with you.
That's okay. It makes the streams more fun.
So afterwards, Commodus is he has Maximus tied up. They're going to go to the arena to do this. Finally, settle their score. And before that, he of course stabs him in the lungs with a
he collapses his lung, which you could. That's one thing they make sure to put the sound effect in there of him gasp. Like every time he breathes, it you could hear the gasp.
It was funny because I hadn't realized how long I'd headcanon this because until Gladiator 2 came out, I hadn't seen this film for like probably more than a decade. And I just got it in my head that was a poisoned dagger, and so like he was dying slowly from poison, but it's not. It is just
there's a possibility there was poison on it. I even when I was rewatching it, I thought to myself about that as well. That there's a possibility he would have put poison on it, but I don't think it would have been required. He would have just bled out anyway.
Does the script say it? Random, do you still have it up though?
I mean, I can Control F, poison. Poison does not appear in the script, but there is a scene earlier in the movie where they have the joke that he might poison Maximus's food. So the film does acknowledge the prospect of Maximus being poisoned, but here, no, not explicitly.
It was Hagen, right? That
he like eats. It looks like chili almost.
It was slop.
Just slop, and he pretends to die, and in true big dumb white guy fashion, pretends to die.
So they slap his armor on him, so to cover up the wound, and we have a fight scene here. There's no audio, so make sure to unmute yourselves.
There
of course, doing the cool stand thing. This right here throws the sword, and then 5 minutes later, he's the hero of this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can understand where you're coming from with that. There's definitely it's a quick face turn for sure.
Yeah, because right there, he knows, like, if I hand this guy a sword, he's going to stab me.
Yeah, there is that, but there's also the other side of things, which the film, even I think the theatrical sort of builds up the idea that the rules of the Colosseum are kind of sacrosanct.
In with the sound, nice.
So the rules of the Colosseum are kind of sacrosanct, and so like this is better in the extended version because there's an earlier scene where he's basically been ordered to execute some prisoners, and you can kind of see that's the moment of doubts creeping in. But it's when Commodus asks one of them to give him their sword that's breaking the rules. What he's doing is betraying the character of Rome, and in just simply ordering his own men to sheath their swords, he's just upholding the law, which is kind of what he's always been doing. So it's not as big a change in him as it is a change in Commodus, and like all he's doing is upholding the rules against Commodus in the way that he would uphold them against anybody else.
Yeah, Commodus crosses the line for Quintus, whereas I guess Quintus is loyal to Rome over Commodus.
The essential difference is, because Commodus kind of thinks he is Rome, and like that comes out, I think, in a couple of earlier scenes as well in the extended version where he has lines to that effect in Quintus's presence. And he's not. Rome is a higher ideal than whoever happens to be the emperor.
I think if Kevin Feige directed this movie, he would have the line "I am Rome" in this movie.
Well, I mean, you say that, but in the script, I just scrolled down to here where Commodus dies, and so you've got Maximus is slashing away at him, and he goes, "For my wife, for my son, for my father." Well, with every
Yeah, I much prefer just the grunting of a person who's slowly dying, but also killing someone.
The movie compared to what it originally should be like a whole film class in how to edit and cut things out, and less is more, because every time you read what should have been in here, this would have been like a so bad it's good movie. Like,
I'm so tempted just from reading. I've read just like one page from this, and it's really making me think I might do a video on this, because if I just read through the whole thing and just be like, the script is shit, the movie's amazing, how did this happen?
I have an idea.
It sounds so interesting. You got to do it.
I have an idea, Random, and you tell me if you like this idea. We'll just get some of us together, all of our buddies. And we'll just do a script read through as if we were the characters, with all the scenes that are different. Like, we'll just. I think that might be an interesting way to go about it.
That could be funny. Yes.
You read through, it's like, wow, this sex scene between Commodus and Lucretia is like 10 pages long.
Yeah, well, at that point, when you get to a sex scene in the movie, you have to like read it in a way that it sounds like it's like, and then I took off her shirt. Like, you have to be like real, like, non-dramatic about it.
As dispassionate and atonal as possible. But it does sort of drive home the fact that Ridley Scott is not a writer. Ridley Scott is a director. He's got a great eye for visuals, and he probably has not got a very good eye at all for what scans well when it's actually, spoken in dialogue. There's one bit from the Prometheus thing where, like, if you read around that subject, at one point he was like throwing ideas around. He said, "This is how I want the scene to go," and some poor guy underneath him had to remind him that gravity was a thing, because he wanted people just to be floating around. It's like, well, you can't have that, Ridley. It doesn't make any sense. But at some point, it's like the George Lucas problem. People forgot to start saying no to him, and so now he is what he is. Whereas back here, at least you've got people like Russell Crowe who are going to say, "Nah, that's shit."
You need to have an actor who has clout. That's the thing is, eventually he stopped working with a lot of the actors who had clout. I think you mentioned that. It was the people around him. And it got to the point where people were just happy to work with Ridley Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch
think
like the
Fassbender
interviews
would've
for
said
the cast members for Gladiator 2, so one of the guys who plays the Emperor, one of the Emperors, like, there's a bit in the interview. It's like, yeah, well, the thing with Ridley is that you don't get to do many takes, so you give the line and that's kind of it. But like back in the day, with an actor who probably had more experience and a bit more self-respect, he would have said, "No, that take was shit. I'm doing it again." Whereas now it does sound like Ridley just wants to go in and out as quickly as possible, and so like he'll tell you to say the line, you say the line, you're done. You don't get a chance to tell him you don't think it was delivered well, or you don't think the wording was right, or anything like that.
Also, how many up-and-coming actors these days are going to have the balls to say no to Ridley Scott?
Yeah.
Based on what you just said, I imagine it was Joseph Quinn that said that. Not Ed Sheeran, the other guy.
I think it was it's the.
It was one of the Emperors. So it was...
Fred Heimerdinger or whatever the fuck his name was.
Oh, the Ed Sheeran guy then. Okay. The guy with syphilis.
Heimerdinger with syphilis. Oh God, no!
Yes.
What have you done to him?
Yeah, what great character development. He went mad because he had syphilis.
Which was never really mentioned. It just comes out in a line toward the end. So, oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
So Maximus collapses and Lucretia runs to his aid, and after she tells him that of course her son is safe, Thomas is dead, and he's able to go into the afterlife to meet his family again. On these, I think this is actually not Russell Crowe. I read that they filmed this afterwards, and this is like a stunt double of his or something like that. It was like
I could see. I mean, it's pretty far away, the shot, and you just need to see the back of his neck and head. It's like,
pretty much. And Juba goes back to the arena and buries the little figurines of Maximus's family, and that is the ending of the movie. That is Gladiator.
I got to mention Maximus's final line before he dies. He says, "Lucius is safe until we get the sequel."
Yeah. Because the sequel actually picks up, so that you get the shot where they're carrying Maximus's body out, and they're all sort of filing into line because they're honoring the victorious dead kind of thing. According to Gladiator 2, like Lucius is about to just veer off to the side because his mum says, "Oh, by the way, you're in grave danger, so fuck off to North Africa." I'm pretty sure you don't see it at all in this film because lo and behold, it was never supposed to happen.
My theater that I saw this gave us free Gladiator 2 posters, and it's the Russell Crowe helmet from the chariot fight. And it's like, that wasn't even a helmet used in the movie. Why are you giving this as promotional stuff?
They gave you posters, and everyone just used them for their to put as like a bib for their popcorn. They were just like, this is what this is useful for.
Yeah, it was
To
pretty
remind you of what
disappointing
you
watching that
used to
movie.
like.
I feel like theaters now are just a place to buy weird popcorn buckets. That's really what it is. It's
Mine
not.
did not have the Dune 2 sex popcorn bucket. I was very disappointed by that.
Was it not a AMC theater?
No, it wasn't. They wanted me to
Yeah.
drive an hour to get that popcorn bucket.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they used to like negotiate for exclusive rights to IMAX or exclusive rights to, and now they negotiate for exclusive rights to the popcorn bucket you could fuck. That's
That
basically
just
what it
shows
is.
you how bad the theater industry is, that popcorn buckets are getting people to go to the theaters again.
I'd like to see a movie like a Tetris or Blackberry or whatever about how that popcorn bucket. I bet that was dramatic. Like, who did no one say this looks like an anus, or did somebody say it does?
They knew what they were doing.
You know what? You're right. And then they thought, you know what? You're right. We're going to keep it. Actually, it's even better now. This is going to be the meme.
Well, that was what it was for Dune too. It was definitely that became not just the meme. That became everything about it. Like there was people going, "I'm just here to like." We got shirts made. I'm just here to fuck the bucket.
It's
Like,
just one bucket.
Like refill, sir? No, just fill it with butter, please.
yeah. Yes. No. I don't need any of that popcorn shit. Just give me some of the.
Deadpool.
Just give me like a few ounces of that butter, and we're good.
They did the Deadpool and Wolverine where they just
They're like,
had their mouths open.
Yeah, they're like, "Are you? Well, do you want a ticket to the Dune to Dune?" They're like, "No. What's the movie with Sydney Sweeney in it? I would like to go see that one instead."
Pulling up Pee Wee Herman watching Nosferatu, I guess.
Well, Eraser had just pointed out the War for Rohirrim fucking hammer bucket was pretty cool. It didn't make any sense from a practicality. Can you imagine if a lot of people went to go see that and there was just these like 4-foot Warhammer buckets? Everyone's just hitting each other by accident in the seats next to them.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm too practical for some of that crap because I saw the Minecraft pickaxe bucket, which is basically like it was a pickaxe, but it was wide, and you would have to hold this thing like an upside down umbrella, basically, and it would fill popcorn. And I thought, there's no way you're going to get very much popcorn in that. And my mind instantly was like, that's not a good value because I like a lot of pop. Like I want a big ass pop.
I don't even buy anything. Like when I go to a theater now, it's usually to take notes for some shitty movie. So I don't even buy anything like that, which is the opposite of what the theaters want because they don't make any money on me. So, but it's like a lot, like, but more often than not, I'm the only one there anyway. So what's the difference? Like I wasn't holding up Cinemark. You know, their business model was not whether or not I bought that one popcorn bucket.
Mine still has the popcorn buckets from the Marvels movie. Then like a year later, you can still see they were trying to sell the Marvels popcorn buckets to people.
Honestly, I didn't mind when they started adding those like tin ones. Those ones were okay because they you know, but then they started going off the rails with. Can you imagine what would the Gladiator one be? It would probably be like a
they
helmet.
had one. It was they had one. It was a
No, I mean
costume.
I mean for Gladiator, this movie, not this Gladiator 2. I mean this one. It would probably be like
It would be
like,
cool
yeah,
if it was the spiky helmet that would actually fit on your head.
Yeah.
I buy that shit.
yeah, like a Gladiator helmet. That's okay because it's something that's it makes practical sense to be a bowl.
Yeah.
Having a little cardboard Colosseum-y type thing, I could see that working as well. Or is that what they did for
That
Gladiator
would've been
2?
cool.
They did with 2, and I know Nosferatu they had like a casket you got, but obviously it's not made for popcorn. It's like Disney has the same popcorn buckets where they have these lavish things, but it does not remotely hold popcorn whatsoever.
Yep. I mean, I have a couple of. I buy them as a lot of times if I like it, I buy it as like a display piece. That's the exact opposite of what I should be doing. It's like,
Yeah, see, they got to have a Sydney Sweeney boobs one, and that would just sell out instantly.
well, yeah, that's perfect for like Valentine's Day movies because it's 2 buckets, 2 just huge buckets right there.
We have just a couple of behind-the-scenes pictures, and gentlemen, that is Gladiator. I think would you say it's Russell Crowe's best movie, or what do you guys think? Beautiful Mind?
It's either this or A Beautiful Mind. They're very different. It's hard to compare them.
Yeah.
I just ended the poll, by the way, for us. It was Greeks versus Rome. Super masculine Romans beat Boy Toucher Greeks by a landslide. It was that was the actual categories I used, by the way. So 74% said super masculine Romans, 25% said Boy Toucher Greeks, and I guess 1% said Carpathians. I don't know.
I mean, the Romans did fuck everything that moved. It's kind of it's not a great time to be a young boy generally, I don't think.
Obviously, tongue in cheek. I think it was just like I had a feeling it was going to be a lance because we're talking about a movie about Rome. Odds were it was more in people's minds anyway.
So
I think that there was a difference, like in the way that, because like in Greece, if you were clean shaven, you were kind of entailed to be a bit probably gay, and in Rome it was the opposite. If you had a beard, you were probably gay. In much the same way as people with moustaches now look like kiddie fiddlers, it's kind of the same thing with Rome.
That's funny.
You're right. Yeah, you're either a diddler or a pirate.
Sir, do you sail the high seas? No? Okay, well then you need to talk to this, CPS agent right here.
Speaking of sailing the high seas, got to mention Master and Commander is in the running. That has
yes,
to be in the running.
that's a great one too.
I would also
honestly,
throw it
he's had a
LA
really good
Confidential.
career. We could go through his. He just had a great career.
A good Dark Horse movie is called I think it's called The Last 3 Days or The Next 3 Days or something like that. I think it's either called The Last 3 Days or The Next 3 Days. That's a really good Russell Crowe.
Let's see. I'm just gonna pull up his general like all of it.
He hasn't done anything in a while, right?
Well, he did that. That, and he also did those two not completely unrelated exorcism movies.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Where it was like the Pope's Exorcist and then some other exorcism movie that they came out within a year of each other and had nothing to do with one another.
Didn't he learn to play the violin for Master and Commander? Like committed to that for real?
Well, he also was he was like a rugby player and shit. Like he did a lot of stuff. Oh, he was in Kraven the Hunter. Oh, how did you forget that, Platoon?
I'm sorry, something about Kraven just doesn't stick in my mind. Can't think what it is.
He was in that movie like a rhino. He's done a lot of dumb. So it was the Pope's Exorcist and then The Exorcism. They came out almost exactly a year apart, and had nothing to do with each other.
That's so weird.
Yeah, he did Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh.
He did. Yeah, honestly, his career really fell off after like 20. I'm not even. He did a lot of spot work. Les Mis, maybe the last one that he was kind of like.
That was very well received. I've not seen it, but I remember that one had a lot of hype around it. Yeah.
Yeah. Man with the Iron Fist. I remember that.
He was in Man with the Iron Fist.
Yeah. Right. Oh, you know what? I could pinpoint when his career went downhill. It's when he was Robin Hood in 2010.
Okay. What are you talking about there?
I'm saying that's like the point where I'm seeing everything kind of below that. He was like an American Gangster. I mean, that wasn't a huge role. I think, if I recall correctly, he was in 310 to Yuma, like Cinderella Man, and then it goes, and then he hits Robin Hood, and then everything is kind of like spotty from that point forwards. That's kind of the turning point of his career.
It's so weird. He didn't have any like allegations or anything afterwards. So.
No, he just aged out of what he was good at. That's basically what it was. He was a good like rough and tumble, muscle bound dude in a lot of movies, and he obviously played really well in things like A Beautiful Mind, but his look was definitely better for those kind of roles. It happens. I mean, he had a much better career than most.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so that was Gladiator. I guess that just leaves us with the final thoughts, I guess. And because Greg and Platoon, you guys missed the opening thoughts. If you want to kind of roll them into this one, that's fine. But I'll start with you, Greg, because you're technically on like the way that this order has changed on the side multiple times. But I'll start with you, Greg. What was your final thoughts on the film, and I guess what your fondest memory was of it, which is what we would have asked early on.
I think it's excellent. I mean, Amelia was just asking about it. I think it's like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for me. I think it's a fantastic movie all the way around. It is visually very exciting. It's, like I said earlier, there's a lot of subtlety that sells a lot of it and trusts the audience to understand what's going on. I feel like the ending hits real hard. It's a very emotional ending that sort of leaves on a hopeful note that is Rome and you, the audience, now have learned something, and you can go forward and make a difference, and you can be the dream and all of that. But it's not sappy like that, but it does leave that. And I mean, Crow's performance is excellent. Joaquin is excellent. Just all around, fantastic movie.
Platoon, I guess you're next.
Yeah, similar conclusion, I think. I think when I first watched it, I was probably a bit too young to properly appreciate it, and I'd kind of pigeonholed it as like a generic sort of, high epic action type movie. And only on sort of rewatching it and paying closer attention to it, it's a rare thing that a film these days kind of rewards you for paying more attention to it. But Gladiator absolutely does. It's deeper than it seems just on the surface level. It does all of the basic surface level plot stuff right. It's functional. Revenge tale is always going to be kind of compelling, but actually when you go down into the thematic storytelling, the story about the city, the story about what it represents, it's really one of the best sort of depictions, I guess you could say, of even virtue ethics on a film. The idea that as against the state and before the state, it's about what being a good man is, and by being a good man you set the example that the world will follow. It's a thematically rich movie, and it certainly rewarded me on the rewatch in the way that I didn't expect it to. So yeah,
I
it's
would
a good
100%
one.
agree with that. That's a good assessment.
Yeah,
By the way, I love your new avatar picture. I haven't had a chance to say it. It's very, very you.
Yes, yeah. Well, I figured that the old one had seen so much shit that he needed a bit of more of a haggard visage.
Have you considered updating your main channel picture to this one? Because I think it's great.
Probably not like the main channel, because it's always difficult doing any kind of like rebrand, because people then just forget what to look for. But I'll probably update the second channel one, because I think that's still got the old avatar on it. So I'll change that.
Yeah. I took the when I got to 10,000 subs, I was like, I have one shot to rebrand and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That's basically, I was like, but yeah, once again, both Greg and Platoon, I know you guys were a little late, but thank you for coming. It was fun having us here. Random, you've been probably the MVP of this stream. You've brought a lot of good knowledge, but what is your final thoughts on the?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. It is very rewatchable in a way that a lot of other movies aren't, such as the second one. It is a movie that grows on you because, again, you can just watch it as like, oh, it's just, swords and sandals, people hitting each other, and oh, it's cool. He gets his revenge and all that good stuff. But then it does have that extra layer of like all of the, I guess, political drama and a lot of the stuff going on with Commodus and his relationship with Lucilla and Marcus Aurelius. All of that is just going to go over your head. It certainly went over my head when I was younger and I watched the movie. Arguably Hans Zimmer's best musical score, definitely top 3, I would say.
Yeah, I can
from memory. I mean, my personal favorite would be his music for Inception. Other than that, maybe Pirates and then this.
Inception, it was kind of a cheat though, because they used the same song in different speeds and stuff a lot. So it fit the tone every time, but it was a lot of times they used a lot of the same stuff.
Sure.
So it's a bit of a cheat.
Sure, but then like he also reused some of the leitmotifs from this movie in Pirates of the Caribbean. There's 2 in particular that are very similar.
Yeah, when I was rewatching it, I heard those and I was like, oh shit, that's right. They are the same guy. I was like,
yeah. They're different enough to where, he's not going to sue himself for plagiarism or anything, but they're very clearly inspired, from the same starting point. I guess the last thing I'd want to say about it is I've checked this original script for the famous line, the father to a murdered son thing, just to see what it says. So in the original script, he says, I am Maximus Meridius, general of the Felix Regiment of the Roman army and servant to the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. I am a father to a murdered son and husband to a murdered wife and landlord to a murdered world, and I will have vengeance.
Landlord to a murdered world.
Yeah, that needed to be dropped. That didn't make...
Maybe that's what made Russell Crowe read it and be like, what the fuck is this? I'm not saying that, because you build up to that as like, yes, my son was murdered, my wife was murdered, and also you've murdered my world. Like,
it's just if you want to create a believable and fundamentally sympathetic character, describing them as a landlord is probably not the way to do it. I don't like landlords.
I am the butcher of Germania. I am the farmer of Hispania. I am the baker of, I don't know. It doesn't. Yeah, there's sometimes you go a little too far with a line. You just have to pull it back.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
It character because early in the movie, like every time people want to talk, he's very succinct. He's very to the point. He meets the senators and he's like, yeah, being a soldier is great. It's simple. You look your enemy in the eye, and he walks away. Like, he's not one for small talk and extra words. So it would have been very strange to suddenly have him be poetic after a battle like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's definitely the setup for his character. Is even the line, even the early part that he doesn't want to really take part in the histrionics of everything, you know, with the gladiatorial combat. He just wants to get it done as quick as possible. He learns as he goes along to be a little bit more like that, and when it comes out later, it's just enough. It's not too over the top, but that's something that he probably would not have said earlier in the film. He evolves as a character, and even to the point where, like, he could have just killed the emperor. His goal was to kill Commodus. Now, he would have died. He dies anyway, but he would have died right then and there, but he didn't care. But he sees what's kind of happening around him and realizes there's a bigger picture to what's going on. So there's definitely an evolution within the character, and the fact that he even has those lines later makes sense. Because what's his other big line? Are you not entertained? What was that, 6 words?
That is also not in the script.
4 words. 4 words. So
I
it's
wish
like,
it was longer. Like, are you not entertained to watch?
it's
me
6 syllables, I meant to
blood?
say. Not it's 6 syllables that he says. And it's like, so he, even in through his dialogue, he evolves as a character. That's not in the original script. Did you just say that? That just clicked what you just said.
Yeah. The "Are you not entertained" is not in the original script.
I am so glad that Russell Crowe was on this movie. Like, you don't, like, nobody else would this have worked with. Like, that being said, Joe, what are your final thoughts on the
My
movie?
thoughts are that I really dislike Ridley Scott right now because I do little research whatsoever. I don't know a single thing going on in Hollywood. So my mentality is, oh, Ridley Scott's directing a movie. It's going to be great. But now seeing everything that he is now and everything that he once was, like, okay, you just had a lot of people holding your hands because this movie is obviously, we could, you know, suck this movie off forever. It's fantastic. It does nothing wrong. Extended version, I want to take a look at it because it probably
Yeah, I think I'm going to go rewatch it now with the extended
all the
version.
holes of anything that I was confused about. So yeah, this movie's fantastic, 10 out of 10. But it really does show that Ridley Scott had Russell Crowe helping him out. And now that the fact that they're making a third Gladiator movie when the plot was solved in the first one and the plot was solved in the second one, how are you going to make a third one about gladiatory arenas?
American Gladiators, where it's where they use foam swords and shit. It's fantastic.
But yeah, so,
It'll
nothing
be
really more to say about it, but yeah, it's great.
it'll
Go
be
ahead,
Denzel Washington's son looking for his vengeance in this life or the next.
They could theoretically do these movies forever. Like they just progress it by 20 years and just go through history, and it's just always the next person looking for vengeance.
There'll always be someone looking
Eventually, they can't be called Gladiator anymore. At some point, it's got to be like Colonist or something. It's got like, and then you just get to the Patriot. There you go, and that's what it is. It's. But as for me, obviously, whenever you're the last one to go, everyone pretty much said it. But one thing I said when we were backstage earlier, and it hit me this time. It's hit me every time I watched it. The ending to this movie is basically perfect. There's. I don't want to call it subtle because it's very obvious he's dead, but there's imagery, there's thematic, everything is thematic there. But it ends exactly where it needs to because his mission is complete. He really, the whole time, he mentions multiple times, hey, I'm only doing this to see my family again, all that stuff. There's no reason for a sequel. They never should have went with a sequel. I don't even think if it was done well, it would have made sense. Nevertheless, what they ended up doing, from everything I've heard, there was no way to logically do a sequel to this movie and have it work. And I said earlier when we started, it's some of the best cinematography I've ever seen. It looks great. There's a couple of scenes here and there in the modern day where you're watching it in HD, where you can kind of see the CG and stuff. Specifically, that one I mentioned with the birds when he first sees the Colosseum. That being said, I'm able to separate myself out from that and go, well, it's 25 years old. I will accept that. It looks great 99% of the time. It's well acted. Obviously, one of Russell Crowe's top 3 movies. We just said it. And, I wish that they would have just not kind of shit on its legacy. That's really just what I would have preferred that.
Hubris. That's what it is.
Yeah. Sheer fucking hubris. Yeah. And that being said, that brings us to everybody's favorite part of the show. It is time to plug your shit, where you tell us where you are, where you've been, where you'll be, and what you're doing next. I guess we'll start with we went Greg. We'll start with random.
I was not expecting a butt plug and poo.
Yes, no one ever is expecting the butt plug.
Yeah. Okay. So, gee, that's throwing me off a little bit. So,
That's the whole point.
yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I do like long essay video type things where I kind of talk about movies and TV shows. I am in the process of going through Arcane season 2. The final video for that should hopefully be out later this week, but it's copyright depending. Apart from that, I've got videos on Arcane season 1, The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, The Hobbit. Yeah, that sounds fun. Then subscribe, and I hope you like the videos.
They're very good. They're very good. I only invite the best people around here. So I guess we'll go with Greg next.
I'm doing. I've got a short video on Reacher season 3 coming out. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It was really, really good, actually. Just a little quick thing. But then, other than that, my wife is making me watch all of season 3 of The Wheel of Time, even though I don't want to, because
they made a season 3 of that shit.
Oh my god. Like a lot of, so she's right. A lot of my subscribers found me through the season 2 critique, so it's like one of those things where I got to keep doing it, and I'm so mad. It's so awful. It's bad as an adaptation. It's bad as a television show. It's horrible all the way around, and I don't think the video that I make is going to be fun because I'm going to be livid the entire time.
And unfortunately, you might actually also be at the point now where people give so little of a shit that you're doing it and it's getting diminishing returns, which is always the worst feeling.
Oh, God. But I got to watch them.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't even realize that they did a season. I thought that they were like, I thought they did like season 1, and then season 2 was barely a thing that was able to get eked out. I'm surprised they were able to get a season 3 out of it.
Nobody cares about season 2. The best people can say about season 3 is, well, it's better. It's better than seasons 1 and 2. Like, okay, yeah. Like we're basically doing out of 10. Season 1 was a 1 out of 10. Season 2 was a 2 out of 10. And season 3 is a 3 out of 10. Is that?
Okay. Just keep going up. Eventually, if they do 10 seasons, they might get something passable.
Yeah, they'll hit their stride eventually. That's fine. It's been 24 hours of television, but don't worry. Season 4 is, so they're totally going to find the groove. So stick around.
Speaking of people who put themselves through really shitty shows for no apparent reason after the fact, Platoon, what do you got coming up?
Oh, stuff. Yeah, second channel Minecraft short one will be done hopefully tomorrow. Then the delayed main channel Snow White video should hopefully also be this week, and then the whatever is left of the main channel Minecraft video will be whenever the other two are done. But they're all kind of near completion, so hopefully they'll all come out in sort of one big bundle, and then it's straight on to whatever shit happens next. I think it's gonna be
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then that's immediately followed by Ironheart.
Yeah.
When's Fantastic Four? Isn't that in May or June?
And what was the other one?
June. Fantastic Four is June, isn't it? I've got that in my head.
June or July. I know that it comes around the same time as Superman.
Yeah.
Like they're back-to-back weeks.
So that'll be interesting. But in the intervening time, of course, we've got The Last of Us Season 2, which will probably be a disaster. And we've got Andor Season 2, which hopefully won't be a disaster. So there's plenty of stuff coming.
Mm-hmm.
After Arcane, I am biting my fucking nails for Andor Season 2.
Yep, I know the
Because Andor Season 1, I didn't catch it until like last year because I was just done with Star Wars. And it had no right to be as good as it was.
I don't think
Yeah.
Disney cares about Andor at all. They do not promote it at all. They don't talk about it. It just came out season one day, and they haven't done anything with it in a very long time, right? Will it be like 2 years?
All they've done is condensed it because it was supposed to be like 4 or 5 seasons, and then they've said, well, you've only got one more, so condense everything you were going to do into one final season, which is why you have like, I think it's three episode bundles covering a set period of time in each one. It'll be interesting to see what they do. If there's one person I have faith in to pull it off, it probably is Tony Gilroy. But if it turns out to be shit, then I have no faith in anyone in the world can burn.
Well, Disney at this point has officially just gone into IP farm territory with these things. They're not even like trying to hide that. So that's basically where they're at with everything. Joe, what is your next project?
Well, I just found out that the new season of Doctor Who just came out very quietly, so I'm gonna have to jump on that. I had my first time watching Doctor Who was the Shooty Gatwick one, So obviously not a great introduction to it at all, but I had such a blast reviewing those things. But this week, hopefully Wednesday, I'll be on Blue Collar Losers channel talking about American Psycho. It's apparently the 25th anniversary of it. And
we have that coming up too. That's crazy.
Oh, good. I have actually not seen the movie yet, though.
Oh, good. You can prepare for the stream on that stream. There you use their stream as like the minor leagues. There you go. I'm just joking, Blue Collar. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that, well, as you know, I do a lot of my scheduling based on anniversaries because it just makes it easier for me to pick. Because if I just went, hey, I'm picking from all the movies ever, I would never be able to narrow down the list. So I just go with what has an anniversary this year, and that's kind of where I start.
Did you guys notice I've changed my avatar to a Praetorian Guard?
I noticed that, and I wasn't gonna say anything because I figured if I brought it up, you might mispronounce it. So
nope, that word's cinched in my brain now. I'm good.
Well, they actually use that word in Aliens. There's and stuff too. So we might end up using it again in next time we're on, which is with Mahler for AVP Requiem in 2 weeks.
Nice.
So
Oh God,
what a movie!
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
So he was on for AVP, the first one last year, and I basically have somehow conned him into doing this one. I don't know how I did it. I guess Mahler just likes me. I don't know. But I was like, hey, you want to do this? He was like, no, but sure. But other than that, as for me, obviously we don't have a show next week because Sunday is Easter, and that would just be probably the worst day to stream. But the other than maybe Christmas, but the after that we have that one, and then I wasn't going to make another video on it because no one seems to give a shit, but I'm kind of bored, so I decided I'm going to do a third Daredevil Born Again video. And in my last video, I was like, oh, good. They introduced an actual villain for this show, and Daredevil's back, and now we can see where that goes. And then they just killed that guy off in the next episode. And I was like, okay, I have to make a video now. Because that is some of the worst writing I've ever seen. And yeah, it basically, I'm not really rushing that out. No one gives a fuck. I'm just doing it for fun and for the subscribers at this point. But you could probably expect that. Let's see, the last episode comes out on Tuesday. Yeah, I'll try to get it out before Easter, but probably more realistically right after Easter. So other than that, it just leaves me to say thank you to all my guests, my co-host Joe, the chat, which was on fire today with some great insight, making fun of all of us, making fun of the movie, even though it's a great movie. Yeah, so other than that, I think it's time that we just we put a bookmark on this one until we get to Gladiator 2 with Little Platoon for sure on the panel for that one.
Book it.
Yeah.
All right. I did do the poll. Oh, yes, I did do the poll. Okay. And okay, so thank you, everybody, and have a good night. Need to update that ending there.
Who's
Still
the
got
image there next to you? I don't know what that was.
Say again. What? Sorry.
Who was the cat next to you? That doesn't make any
Oh
sense.
yeah, I didn't make that. He made that. So I need to figure out how to I want to keep it exactly the same, but just replace the face. Maybe I'll do it really not subtly and just at the very end slap a frame, just frame over a different face. It'll be exactly the same until the last 2 seconds.
Love it.
Are we still live though?
How are we still live?
Did I not press end stream probably because I was afraid to touch it.
No, I pressed end stream. Let's try that again.
the stream can never end.
Hold on, that doesn't make sense. It says play outro